Colombia. So that means Washington D.C. is in Colombia. Washington State is in USA, right?
Yeah, to the West Coast.
Okay, yeah, it's Washington State.
All right, so we got this. All right, I'm going to turn the lights off.
What did you think you look at this?
Jan, my wife did that.
What?
Why is everyone staring at their phones?
Hello?
Very good.
We're talking to you!
We're going to start in just a few minutes. My wife, we had that basic text course. She's like, I gotta finish this project. But you're here from
I thought you were starting at 3.
wait for Jan.
How are you? Good. You know my office is right here.
Oh, really?
I'm on 43rd at 3rd. Kind of like, how do you, how else do you hear
3rd, and 4th and 5th.
Okay.
For the 9 it is.
Yeah.
I'm on the other diagonally across the street from it. There's like a CVS thing.
Yep. Oh, yeah. No, I know what that is.
Yeah, I was up there. Yeah. That's where I went for the first month, 4 years. That's the draw of the seal of the city of Los Angeles for the job and world 10th thing for me.
When you go down?
Wednesday. So it's like
Tomorrow.
next Wednesday. So it starts on Thursday next week, and we're there for 3 days going to 3 different parks. So it's a cool thing about they're basically using these big city celebrations as like a way of doing research for the Olympics. And they have FIFA, the Super Bowl, and then the Olympics. And so they're like this free super important happening. So they basically use them as ways to collect information. And they're basically committing, they're like, with us all the way through, we're with them all the way through all 28. So great.
So this is the city of LA?
It's for the mayor office. And so that's been on.
Please God, it's not going to be Spencer Pratt.
Oh my God. Well, I do wonder about how whatever happens will impact the larger picture. But this is a new team, and I think it's connected more to the city than the mayor. It's obviously the mayor.
Okay.
The other thing that's interesting is. Are you guys here for Tech Week?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hi. Yeah, thanks. So I'm waiting on my partner who had to finish something for a project for the World Cup. So when she comes, we'll start our talk. But yeah, welcome to the newsstand. So we've got a mural on the outside. We've got surveys here. This is survey 92 about the 401st birthday of New York. And this is like a note. Like, what would you tell the city at its 401st birthday? Yeah, birthday wishes. I mean, everybody wants to have a nice party.
How did this go about? I mean, this is like such a cool venue to have
the whole thing. Yeah, well, we applied for this vacant unit activation program through the MTA, and it took us about a year to get through the bureaucracy. And then we looked at 2 or 3 spaces, but this was kind of like the most non-dangerous. Predominantly the newsstands and things that they had all over the subway. And we saw this one on 23rd on 6th, right by Union Square, and the whole ceiling had fallen into the water dam. So they came on this one, and we're like, well, it's big, but it's going to cost us like $40,000 to get this out. So yeah. And so we have a year for a year. Yeah, so we have all kinds of different projects that are going on around the world, and we're going to tell them about you as soon as my partner says, yeah.
Can I enter the t-shirt raffle?
Absolutely.
I am a native New Yorker.
Awesome. Just a piece of paper in here. I think, yeah, 35 years, and she does all she painted all the stuff and does all the drawing. And I used to run databases for McKinsey. So I came out of like this kind of corporate world of like data communication. And then I have an agency and we do lots of different Well, I've said that everything here is connected to data. So every sign that's right behind it here is actually the sources and verifications for all the numbers, for all the signs on the wall, and then everything on the outside, on the mural on the outside, is all connected to the data of the city. This is a 400-year history of New York. You have the numbers. You don't want to do the surveys. Yeah, and then we're doing these surveys to kind of make a part. Yes, you gotta sign in. Yeah, how do I want to get started with online partners,
We wouldn't want to start without her. We got microphones. That's right. We got microphones. Yes.
like that. Like that, and we also have an example of some surveys here. We fill this up usually with different. You'll see the next one. We fill up with stickers and things because you realize that they're kind of anonymous, and you get a chance to kind of selectively add your opinion. Yeah. Things, but at the same time, it's anonymous. It's fun. It doesn't feel too serious, but it's a real bad thing. It's super easy to interpret. And what's also interesting is we keep trying like weird examples, like we have like a Venn diagram, which is not normally a way that you usually figure. Nobody complained. Everybody just came right in and started putting stickers on. Yeah. So it's like, as soon as you see one sticker on there, it's kind of fine.
I think the music does it, and you kind of see, you don't have to see this differentiation of who's drawn in.
We like the music. It's really important to have music. If you take it out, it feels like kind of like you're on the platform. And like, you know, normally we have the lights on, but when we have the video projector, obviously, it's a little bit more like this.
Do you have a circuit that's like how many people are from the organ?
This thing like so rigged up with all kinds of AV. It's live streamed, so thank you. Yeah, well, there's our camera right behind you. So hi everybody. I guess we're gonna do the first one without Jen, and then we'll do the next one with. So this is our lecture for New York Tech Week. Thank you guys so much for coming. How do you have a conversation with the city? So we're the Data Vandals. I'm one half of the Data Vandals. This one over here. This is Jen Ray. She's an artist. I did the Data Viz part, and our artwork has developed over the last number of years really to focus on, I'm going to turn this up a little bit so the folks out there can hear, to focus on how do you use data as a bridge to have a conversation. I think what we've learned, data kind of lives in like a digital world, but when you take data and you put it in the physical world, people have a very different reaction to it. So it all started here with this project we did at Cooper Union for an exhibition we had about 2.5 years ago. Boy, that is really loud out there, isn't it? Oof. And it was just basically this piece of paper with stickers, and people went crazy. We gave out 2,000 stickers in 3 days. And it very much kind of started to see these trends. Like there's a bunch of people that were just visiting. There were a bunch of people that are kind of lifers. You could see there were people that were like kind of on the more fluent side of data. A lot of people didn't really know much about, people didn't really know that much about Cooper Union, but you can kind of get like a vibe in general for how the whole thing starts to go. And so from there, we were like, the whole idea is that how do you have a conversation for a city? Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And we did this project in London last summer called the Great London Survey for Flourish Canva. And we had the same idea. How do you take these surveys and how do you use a survey to have a conversation with people? And so as a result, we wrapped this 1980s Italian three-wheel vehicle called the Piaggio Ape in statistics and drove it around the city to talk to people in London about how they think about their lives. And so we have this poster here. I love it, I hate it, classy, trashy. And then the sticker sheet with these 8 subjects. Everything was kind of vetted and kind of qualified by people in London. So it turned out that foxes are something that have a lot of diversity of opinions, as we say. When they make these horrible sounds, and they're actually overpopulating in the city of London, but yet they're still foxes and kind of cute. And so some people love the foxes and some people really had opinions about them. Cycling paths were really interesting because in London, because the streets are so old, it means you have less cars, which makes more congestion ultimately. So you have more environmentally friendly transport, but then that actually causes other issues. So it was a really interesting way for us to kind of go through And when we did this, we went to 6 different parts of the city. They were very different: King's College London, the London School of Economics, City Hall. We also went to a place called Church Street Market, which was a vegetable market for first-generation immigrants. And it was fascinating because there's a lot of hypotheses that kind of go into our work, like, will people understand the surveys? Will they understand the data? And what was interesting is that was completely obvious. Everybody had no problems with it. Even people that had a limited English fluency, you would say, give them a sticker and you'd say, what do you think about foxes? And so this one very cute lady, I was like, what do you think about foxes? And she said, like, the biscuit, right? And I said, no, the animals. And she was like, oh, I fucking hate them, right? And so they're going, here you go, you putting yours in the negative side. And so then, well, what happened is people went through and started to put the stickers on. They started to tell us stories about why. We realized that it became maybe a psychological mechanism to kind of check if people like them or something, or at least to kind of build empathy. And so as you can see here, this is 8 of the 12 of the 10 posters we did. There's pretty different representations of the data. You're not going to see exactly the things, but you can see that the purple ones are clustered here and the orange ones are clustered there. And what was interesting is we started to kind of stop thinking about it as data, but as provocations for conversations. Because as they would go through and put the stickers on, they would talk about their lived experience, things that are going by, jokes, oh, well, my mother loves, the Royals, so I always love the Royals, things like this. So this, that project that we did led to this, where we are today, the newsstand. Hold your applause, please. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. So we've been here since April. Here we go. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, well, that's a real pity vote. So we've been here since the 3rd. It's really interesting. It gets very crowded, as you can see, as it is right now. But every time the train comes, it kind of empties out, and a whole new group comes in. People come and they stay. They talk to us. We had one person stay with us for about an hour and a half, just kind of talking about lots of bits and pieces. And it's become a place for conversation, as you can see right there behind you. And so we started trying to, with the project in London, it felt like one moment, not a conversation, but just an element in a conversation. And so we started to think, how do we make a more longitudinal kind of conversation with the city? Because that's just kind of one back and forth. How do you actually let that conversation go in different places? So we're here to have these different surveys. This was one of the ones that we did actually a month ago. We have a second one that came out. And then you see the analysis here, but also over here on the side. The analysis will kind of be building over time so that we can show, hopefully, what we hope to be a diversity of opinion. It can also, one of the things that's interesting about conversations is they branch and they fork, and you're not quite sure how you can control a conversation. But if you have a good conversation, you take it and you share it with other people, which is something else we're very interested in. Almost kind of a bottom-up approach to technology. And so obviously this is New York Tech Week. What does this have to do with technology? Well, we learned first and foremost as a data person, I was shocked by this, is that a lot of, quote, regular people hate data and technology. I was shocked when I realized that. Maybe it's obvious for people, but meeting people in the street and talking about, would you take a survey? They would say no. Or we would say, do you want to fill out a survey for the city? Or we're here doing something for data. Oh, I don't like data. And I was just blown away by this. We also realized that many people, I would actually use the word most, have a negative opinion about AI. And the other thing is that we realized that the digital information just doesn't hit in the same way that physical information does, right? You put a sign out of a data point, of a survey, people react to it much differently. So we use different types of technology, from web applications and AI. We do a lot of our research analysis, even kind of started to generate kind of base maps. It's been very helpful, kind of getting AI to evaluate surveys and things like that. But mostly we're trying to pull in data in a way that keeps that through line of ethical interest for people, not ethical AI, but of just finding a way to find ways that build empathy with people. So we have a whole new project that we're doing with civicaitools.org. It's a new MPC MCP. I always get that backwards because I think about the sampler.
Oh, yes.
It's MCP product all about verifying civic data and creating the ontology for it. We're working on a big project for the city of Los Angeles. We'll talk about in just a second. And we want to actually build a whole touch interface here and the thing. And so we've been talking to some interactive map makers and things like that to be able to kind of zoom in and everything. Would be really cool. So we also have an exhibition in Los Angeles right now, LA on the Move. It's at Union Station. It's one of the biggest train stations in the U.S. and the terminus of the actual westward expansion. This is a show called LA on the Move. It's all about how the animals of LA kind of move around. So we focus on 5 species. But I wanted to show this map. This is a giant 3D map. It's compiled of a few hundred satellite topographical layers and satellite imageries, and it's incredibly detailed. And what's funny is it's, gosh, this is going out. What's funny is that there's always people there. Every photograph that's ever taken of this thing just has crowds of people around it. Because what's the first thing you do when you see a map? Anybody have an idea?
Try to find where you are.
You find where your house is. You look for your home. And so because this actually covers the entire metro area of Los Angeles, it actually covers 3 counties, everybody can find their home. So anyone at the train station is always looking, even if they have to wrap around the corner like this gentleman. So we had 2 little inspirations we want to talk about before we get into the end part, which is our inspiration predominantly is Sister Corita Kent. She was a 1960s pop artist. It was also a Catholic nun, and her whole thing was about trying to find ways of spreading joy with people. This is her Mary's Day Parade, which went from like a normally kind of state with. I'm gonna change mics. Hello. That's better. A state event to. I'm gonna turn this one up. This giant kind of community celebration of color. She did the screen prints, and she also developed these 10 rules, which are so interesting because they're a combination of kind of radical figures from the time, from Buckminster Fuller and John Cage, to also like things that are kind of based on the gospel. And what I love at the end of it is Rule 10 is we break all the rules, even our own rules. How do we do that? By leaving plenty of room for X quantities. And at the end it says there should be new rules next week, which I love. The other thing is that this idea of using data to speak to the public is not new. It turns out in 1913, there was the New York City Municipal Parade where every department had to build a float or some kind of a representation of their data for the city. As you can see from the umbrellas here, it was a torrential downpour the whole time, and we had 1 million people that came. What you see here is like something like 500 people all dressed in white, and that was to show the miracle of vaccination. Oh my gosh, crazy. Things about city services, health impacts, things like that. So this all happened in 1913. Wouldn't it be cool if we did something like that again? Huh, interesting. So what's next? We have a project called Ticket in the Park for the city of Los Angeles. We're doing that next week for FIFA and World Cup. So this is actually going to be the beginning of a new data set. The whole idea is 311 data, predominantly complaints, negative things, violations. So can we do the opposite of that? Can we collect data about what we love, what our affinities are? And so it's called LA Loves. And then we also have a book that we're building out all about financing healthcare systems in America. So fun stuff. And then, of course, in New York, ongoing events here for the newsstand. And that's it. That's our talk. Thank you so much. Yay! Yeah, there was some generous. There you go. Genuine applause. Genuine applause. So we have the survey there. This is the fill out your note to New York City. We've got a raffle here for the T-shirts. And take a newspaper. Thank you so much for coming. We'll do the whole thing again in about 15 minutes. As soon as Jen shows up. Hi. Thank you.
So the 400-year history on the outside. I've made those history cards about here.
I go back to Jason actually. Yeah, I lived in Berlin at the same time in New York here.
In the past, it would take me
I lived in New York for 4 weeks. So you hear like weekends?
I mean, the reason why Business Consulting was such a jam is because
I think we met
they
that
did
song.
was
I was in this agency called M80 for 2009. Yeah, I was right at college.
It works very well for this stuff.
Yeah.
We also use it in terms of building on the charts. What happened?
Yeah, no. Jay and John are.
I guess that's the other
and
yeah, so we're using it more and more. This whole MCP thing.
I used to let Mike smoke. Now
The idea is like, how do you have a conversation with the so this is a bigger
Think about it, in the old mistake, just an addict addicted to music.
Now we're gonna change it out. We're not sure about the next one. Like we had a party, so every year and that's why we had these.
I think that the concerns about AI based on
Text bot, and it was about all this garbage stuff that has to be like all right subway. And so I'd love to do like a talk about that because now when we look criticize the city, you want to be like, okay, that's like a paradigm. And so it'd be interesting also like data and also
they're just their old friends.
So it's hilarious because it's amazing. It's like you cannot walk. Just all right. First of all, don't come to New York. Secondly, don't walk here. Third, you're not by yourself.
Very much like, why am I going to really stay in touch with
we always wanted to have that kind of feeling, like keep New York weird kind of thing, you know, like you just never really want to happen. So you want to do like DJ sets and stuff, and honestly doing a talk like this on the platform is already kind of crazy.
Yeah, and we're like this subway, which I think they're bringing back. But they brought it back, and I think they're having it this year again.
Let's see if
But
they go for
having the subway as like an active participant in your life, you know what I'm saying? We lost that. I agree with you.
So we got a group in Chicago that's
Yeah, we might also be talking crazy about doing something about that.
Of course.
I
only like number one.
it's music software, but they like totally dominated us like this thing was
But you had been focusing on music.
just don't have enough time because we have
we have the space
all over. And so this is kind of our New York clubhouse. There's just so many here,
That's been
well, we
You have
only,
to look so far.
yeah, in different cities. So like we have a project right now in LA that's and then we'll travel around when people ask us for projects. And we've done a ton of stuff in New York, but this is our, you know,
50-year-old lawyer, she's
year-long
coming home
possible
from work.
for Clubhouse.
Almost.
And like, okay, so
So you just gotta get
how
this
do you
stuff.
solve
This is like when we were trying to sell
That's what he told me. I was like, what? I'm always the person that pushes back. I'm like,
Yeah, we've been doing native
It's-
Amazon.
it's not like it's trying to explain the challenge of product marketing right now.
oh, yeah.
It's
So part of tech week,
You're working right now, consulting and like high level niche selling. It's very interesting. Kind of seeing how AI can actually be
The
used
thing
with
that was really
all
crazy
these
is in the London
but also just
project,
seeing where that future of work is.
basically like the working class neighborhood has very high energy of billionaires. And
So you
my school of
your name
economics
because
is
it sounds
probably
like we
You're
should
all-
probably going to
collaborate, put your name on your
have a
card.
very negative opinion about billionaires.
You ever
Because
do
you're really open to collaborations, and I wonder what they
And so those are the two things that we area of like the New York immigration area, prohibition, hatred, and stuff. You can really see it almost like a Nazi graffiti kind of.
some people are.
And almost nobody knew about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in touch with them. I actually just got a text. I don't know if you saw they launched Scripting today. And that's really?
I don't do that.
One of my colleagues.
Like beaver hunting, it's like beaver training, it's like shaper. Oh yeah, yeah, I work for the transit organization. Are you part of the behind this spot? No, I'm on. I do data visualization for the MTI. So I was with Jason and when they.
Probably saw maybe briefly.
And
We're also kind of involved with the city and certain people.
We can work with the Office of Technology
Yeah.
So we somehow are getting.
What do you think of it?
New administration.
I know, it's weird. It's very
You have one person from
and makes all these videos. It'll be hard, but yeah, he got the POC.
They want to make
I saw it.
I think
These are the policies. I think you guys are
he's focusing on
very
But
often.
we would love, obviously, to have someone. I was like,
Bruce
he's
Holman
deputy
or what?
mayor, have him come down here because he's, not his.
I respect him. My girlfriend's brother.
Yeah.
That rush, we don't use this as a rubber beer. I actually ran into a few it's technically made in the city is not great. 3 days a week. I know it's more you're gonna make it. We're in
Yeah, so I wanted like.
Then you show people to do the tech on, public
I think a
transport
lot of
networks,
people,
like making all of it.
direct contacts, they're busy with all of the news.
What do you mean by doing
So
it?
for instance, we created a campaign for the city.
A lot of
Two
buses.
characters.
Buses, subways, commuter rail, bridges and tunnels, congestion pricing, a lot of things, and not just New York City, but a lot of downstate New York. Yeah.
We came up with this whole campaign.
Stuff that's very
And they were
interesting.
like,
Obviously,
Well,
like, I'm
we have a
very
new,
interested in working with folks
we have a
like
new boss,
Dave
actually,
Bowles.
we don't know what she
Oh, yeah,
said. For
But
OTAP,
I
right? And so we're
personally,
like,
how about
okay, you know,
this?
it's,
I wanna
that's
talk
the only
with Jason.
problem, is they wanna do
Feel
something.
free to,
But when you
reach
have
out
to
if you have any
people,
questions.
you know,
or
yeah,
feedback.
that'd be
it's
awesome.
kind of like.
In a couple months.
It's
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's
That's
a
a
great
friend
friend
with the
of
campaign.
ours.
I hope they don't have too many crazy canvassing.
It's new to me. It is really interesting.
She would
Going
write
back
it.
around. I've never done politics before.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And if you
like how
like
it's-
that,
it feels like
Why it's so compelling about space.
I think it's just that, like, seeing how this is becoming a national race is really interesting.
And like what,
And also
and
that
like,
you have like
you
the
said,
kids background, and
is,
so like
and
just
Jason said, it's about this communication that you in the city. And you
Oh, I have that on credit side.
We're doing
You
projects.
could actually try and
Actually,
regulate
during the
all the
pandemic,
politics.
especially, they kind of cleared the
Data
waivers.
competitions
Story
like
about New York,
you're
and
throwing
it didn't
advantage
have-
over the doors.
Yeah.
They really did. They were,
Yeah, and I
the reason we
totally
started
agree.
was during the
I
pandemic,
don't
everybody
love-
here was
All
like,
these
"Here,
different fields of what you
sucks."
can do.
And then our leaders were like, I guess it does. It was all like, it's
Bad balls or those get on me very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, I can't vote for it. I don't live in the district. And that's the other thing. It's like when the race is like that.
I guess it does.
Not
It's like,
national,
you
just
know,
between
remember the
96 and
70s?
80.
It's
Like, that's it, you know?
Like my dad back in Massachusetts.
So, trust me, all of our dads.
It's all people who are like,
I will.
like,
Exactly. It's,
Millionaire, watch out, it's my trip.
I guess we always
I literally just talked to Alex like 2 days ago.
We have to say, obviously, we need to get together.
It's just like more of a station type stuff.
Can we go way back too?
Yeah, well, I just connected with your call.
I really understand. I'm more remind my friends
completely
like this guy is.
We all just got connected here.
Oh,
Yeah, totally. We're all on the same page, I think.
David.
All right.
You guys gotta go to the film.
We gotta go to the talk.
Is this on?
I know, we've got to do.
Okay, all right, we'll see you soon. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for coming by.
Hello, testing. Oh,
Okay.
oh, you're oh, welcome, MTA.
I need some posters.
Love it. We would love I believe that is track, brake dust.
Field dust.
Brake dust,
Field dust.
trains, it's not our fault. We have a
That's
Swiffer. Thank you very much.
I did not Swiffer.
We did not Swiffer.
I did not
But we
Swiffer,
have-
but we will Swiffer at some point. Hi, welcome.
We feel like it's either we're getting used to it.
It's true.
I think
It's
that
true.
it's not bothering us.
I think that the scale for what is dirty is
I didn't
going
know
up.
about
You go downtown to many federal halls where George Washington took oath of office. And so,
I just saw this and I was like, oh.
yeah, if you look at the HBO series,
Yeah.
well, it was never supposed to be permanent, but they needed to have a capital that was outside of the state. Because the problem was whatever state they were in, kept messing with the federal government.
Okay, we always talk about what we don't like in certain ones, and we also do about we want to try to get the communication.
It was a real problem. That's why DC exists. The state will be like, what's nicer than this is.
The city for the neutral and the bad, but not the good.
Yeah.
All right, take it back. These two stickers.
Anybody else?
Anybody else know things?
I thought I was gonna need
People are using
New York
it.
City.
I don't know.
How's she doing? This city's best. This city's
But that's not
I put some up on the trip. I overestimated how many
what you
things I
should
would
do
know.
for what comes this place is exactly. And
I think it's the best city.
All right, Nick. Okay,
All right.
awesome.
Thanks for that.
Jen,
Okay, we're gonna do number two. Number two. Here we go.
Alright, hello.
The
Is
second.
everyone
Hi.
cool enough? There
Hello.
are some fans that
There are some fans that blow. There are fans out here.
So
All right, I'll
get
turn
in
it.
the fan.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
Yeah. I mean, I have a bottle of water if anybody wants
Does
one.
anyone
Do you
need
want
a
a bottle of water? Anybody need a bottle of water? You
Don't
good?
drink too much. There's
They're
no
sealed.
bathrooms
They're
in
sealed.
the subway.
They're sealed, I swear. All right.
They're
Well,
selling for $25 each.
what? No. Well, welcome. This is the second talk of the day.
I just arrived.
Yes. So, hi. How are you?
How's everybody? Come on in.
So this is our New York City Tech Week lecture. How do you have a conversation with a city? We are the Data Vandals.
Yes, I'm Jen Ray, and I'm the artist. And we both studied art actually in college together, believe it or not. But I do all the visuals and everything in here. I painted in this space.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm Jason Forrest. I am a database expert. I've been in technology for 20-something years now. And we've been doing Data Vandals for about 4 years. First as a experiment, what happens when you take data and put it on the street? When you take it from the digital world to the physical world? But as we've kind of evolved, it's kind of grown into this bigger question: how do you have a conversation with a city?
Exactly. And then we started during the pandemic. And by the way, can everyone hear? Okay, I know it's noisy, but we started this project during the pandemic because we felt like at a certain point we were kind of shouting into the void and that we needed a way to communicate with our fellow New Yorkers essentially during a really hard time. We also felt like we were not, like citizens of New York, were not really being supported by their city government in a way, like the communication. And so we were all supporting each other and trying to bolster each other up. And we kind of turned to our leaders and we're like, we're doing all this stuff. And we heard it was like crickets.
Yeah, it's cricket.
So that's when we started this project as a way to communicate with each other.
And our whole kind of focus on communication, how do you have a conversation, started with this. This was an exhibition we had at the Cooper Union downtown. And it was a larger exhibition, really a history of the East Village. And then we just stuck these pieces of paper up and some stickers. And we kind of thought that people would throw some stickers on there, but it ended up being wildly popular with about 2,000 stickers in 3 days. As you can see, there's some kind of trends here. I'm standing for this one, but in the spectrum between hot dog cart and Michelin star restaurant, pretty much people right in the middle.
It makes sense for New Yorkers to say that.
And from there, we moved into this project we did in London for London Data Week, where we took a 1980s Piaggio Ape, a three-wheeled Italian delivery vehicle, wrapped it in sticks, and drove it around the city.
To 5 different locations.
So the poster itself is the Matrix. I love it. I hate it. Classy and tacky, or trashy, and a little cartogram at the bottom to show where people are from. And it had 8 different subjects where people could kind of take the sticker and put it on the Matrix. What was so interesting is we had our British friends go through and vet all the language, all the subjects, everything. So it really was kind of, done in collaboration with that community.
So each time we go to a city, and we've been to a lot of cities now, we've gone to different Budapest, Linz, Austria, London, Los Angeles. We always rely on our collaborators to have like a relationship, so that we're not there to just tell them stuff. We're like, we looked at your data, we're telling you what's going on. We're like, no, you tell us what's happening, and we arrive at a story together. Arrive at a story together.
And so we went to 6 different neighborhoods, City Hall, King's College London, London School of Economics, but also this place up here in the top corner. This was the Church Street Market. It was a vegetable market for first-generation immigrants. And what was so fascinating is there's a lot of inbound hypotheses. Will people understand how to use the chart? Will they know where to put the stickers? What will they say? And that was pretty much not an issue at all. Everyone, despite their age, everything here, they just knew how to use it. It was very, very easy and intuitive.
And I think that another thing that we actually had to overcome with this project, which I find fascinating, we learned through every project, we learned something. And we had a lot of preconceived notions about the data. Even though we would love to tell you we never have preconceived notions, we actually did. And for instance, we have this thing on here about London billionaires. Like, do you hate them? They're so evil and horrible.
There we are.
And the funny thing is when we went to King's College, which conceivably mints a lot of potential billionaires, they hated billionaires. And then when we went to this marketplace, which was, again, like Jason's saying, kind of first generation immigrants to London, they were like, billionaires, fine with me.
We love them.
And so just to see that, again, we always learn something with these projects. And I think if anything, we learned to stow away a lot of our ideas about how data will be addressed.
The first generation immigrants loved tourists. The tech startup hated tourists.
Right.
So there's just a lot of things like that that are kind of interesting to come out.
Of
So
course,
this is
the tech people loved. They hated the royals. And
they hated the lawyers and loved billionaires.
Anyway.
So this is 8 of the 10 posters, and you can see there's already kind of differences in the trends of the data. You won't see the details, but you can kind of see the colors kind of moving around. And what was so interesting is that as people put the sticker on the poster, they would tell you a story about why they had a certain opinion. And that's what we became really interested in, is that this was somehow a way to provoke people to share their personal stories as it related to data, not just an act of collecting the data.
Right. I feel like they felt like they were more a part of what was happening. Because we did say that we were there at the behest of the city, right? But instead of just telling them about data, it's like by putting this on, they did feel like they were part of it and that the city would recognize it, right? It was not a bunch of faceless, nameless data points.
And so what was interesting is the Greater London Authority, the administration that runs the city, when we started to kind of share this work out, they got really excited about the qualitative data, not the quantitative, but the qualitative, the fact that their survey products predominantly were just some digital tools with a series of checkboxes. We knew stories. We knew stories why certain communities felt a certain way. And so that's what led to this, the Data Vandals newsstand. Hold your applause. Hold your applause. Okay, you really took me. You took me at face value with holding that applause. It's okay. It's fine.
This is week
No, it's
7.
fine.
This is week 7. All right, I'm going to tell a little bit about this story because and I encourage everyone to think about this. Jason found an email and an attached article to the email that said that the MTA had these empty spaces all over the city, all over the world, right? Because a lot of these, as any New Yorker knows, these were newsstands. A lot of them closed a long time ago, and people are not coming down, generally speaking, to the subway to buy their coffees anymore, and their New York Posts and their New York Times. And
in the
so
60s, they would have steak restaurants in the subway.
Right.
Wild, huh?
But we were like, well, we want one of those spaces. And so we reached out. We were like, there's an entire group of people that are, they won't answer
we thought
our
it was
email.
like a big team.
Anyway,
it wasn't. It's one person.
It's one person, thank God, one person. And she was given the task of finding arts people, cultural people, whatever people to fill these spaces. So after a year went by, we finally got the keys to this space and we cleaned it up. It was filthy, disgustingly dirty.
Yeah, it was packed with this kind of greasy black dirt. It turns out that's brake
It was
dust.
horrible. And
Cool.
so we cleaned it up and here we are now. So it took about a year and now the 7 weeks we've been up.
Yeah, about 7 weeks. So again, as a result of the London project where we had a single kind of survey, we realized that we wanted to have something that was longer. We wanted to have more of a longitudinal approach to collecting the data. Because we really are trying to fulfill this mission, how do you have a conversation with a city? And so we opened for about 6-7 weeks ago. It's been very popular. As you can see, it doesn't take a lot of people to fill this place up. And then what's interesting is it's kind of got a natural kind of flow. People kind of come, they hang out, they put something in the survey, and then the train comes, and then it empties out again, and then a whole new group of people come. But there are people that come and stay a long time talking. People that come hour and a half, just chatting about things, sharing their stories, or just, bonding, taking a moment just to learn a little bit about people around them. And so we have been playing around with different types of surveys. So this is one of the first surveys we did, all about what would people want to celebrate about the 401st birthday of New York, because last year was the 400th birthday. Who knew?
Who knew that last
Who
year was
knew?
400?
Really, we stumped you. We stumped everybody. So this is the 401st birthday. We're starting a grassroots campaign to celebrate that.
And I will interject by saying this is another something that happened where you're like, we should celebrate 400 years, right? And it's a difficult story. It is not an easy story. And then once again, we're like, why didn't the mayor's office, why didn't the city take this opportunity? It's an incredible marketing opportunity to talk about New York in all its messiness. And then they did a little couple of things that no one ever heard about.
Yeah. So we have these different surveys. This is an earlier one. We just have people put the stickers on, as you can see, similar like we had before. Our current survey is behind you folks, which is again part of the 401st birthday, a series of trivia events. How do you feel the city is? And then below is kind of like a card. Like, what would you tell the city on the occasion of its 401st birthday? So please fill it in. The stickers are over there behind you. And then after we do that, we analyze it. And so as you can see here to my right, there's a little screen that quantifies the different survey results. And over time, we hope to actually build these into a bigger series of surveys, events, and kind of reports so that we can tell people, the community of people that stopped in here felt this certain way about things. We've also had some people come that have put their stickers on, that wanted to know what the results were. And that's something that we're really excited about, is that something we can kind of cultivate over the next few months. So this is New York City Tech Week, right? Yay! Hold your applause. Hold your applause. So we're kind of a weird group, right? Because we actually use a lot of technology, but we tended to translate the digital into the physical. And so while we're using quite a few AI tools for research, increasingly for copywriting, the history, the 400-year history of Midtown that you can see on the outside. Normally that takes several weeks to do the research on. Now you can generate it in about 10 minutes, but it took me 2 weeks to do the QA and fact checking on
Exactly.
it.
We do a lot of fact checking. Don't get us wrong. We don't just rip it with AI
And so speaking of which, right here, if you could, would you mind holding that up? Yeah, that's it. The clipboard. This is actually the sources and math for all of the signs here on the wall. We want to make sure that everything's kind of traceable. So
most of it is from the New York City's open data portal and their data tools. And then a lot of it is census data as well. And even though we're telling you, oh, we have these sources, people come in and we talk about, or I don't want to say argue, it's not really argumentative, but people are like, what, are you sure? And we're like, well, that's what we found. And then we have these discussions about the data, which I think are wonderful. Particularly 10% of all human languages are spoken in New York City.
Yeah, our friend David said
point of
human challenged
discussion.
it.
Yeah, right. We're like, well, but like you can explain it.
Well, there's about 760 languages spoken in Queens and about 7,000 spoken languages, human languages. So 10% pretty much breaks out. But you can see more about that right here. So this was helpful for the last group. What we learned first of all, that a lot of people actually don't like data and don't like technology and feel like data is something that they don't have control over. That was a real surprise as a data person to know that people actually don't like this thing that we would consider to be a benchmark of society.
Right. And then people have the bad feelings about AI because it's the same thing, right? They have no sense of control over it. It's like some kind of many-headed snake that's coming at you at all times. It is, because it's like, oh, here's a new one, here's a new one, here's a new one. Yeah, it's like, ah. And then we feel like people are becoming so numb to the digital. So we always want to do something that's handcrafted in companionship with the digital, with technology.
It becomes so much more immediate. We do lots of different types of, like I said, AI tools, but we're really interested in seeing how we can take a more of a more AI influenced high tech back end to inspire and build on a lot of our new projects. We're working with an MPC developer right now. He has a project called Civic AI Tools, and the whole idea is that when you're putting in an AI search for civic data, you really don't know how it's compiled through official sources. And this would be actually a way of like sharing, these are how the cities themselves kind of compile the data. We're also developing a whole new data set for the city of Los Angeles right now called LA Loves. We'll pause for a moment while the train comes and while that Toy Story thing is just loud. It's crazy. And Tracy Morgan out there screaming about the Knicks. Which way? Go Knicks. Woo! Go Knicks. Woo! So the whole idea was we worked with a number of different civic groups, and what we've realized is that a lot of the data that's collected by the city is inherently negative, right? It's violations, it's complaints, things like that. So we are building a new data set for Los Angeles called LA Loves, which is about what does a city love? What are their affinities? It's a project that we're kicking off next week, a project for the World Cup. And also we're exploring a big touch interface that we could have here. So some kind of cooler technology kind of.
So the newsstand had no budget at all.
Welcome.
So no budget, and we didn't apply for any grants because we just didn't. And so our fantasy would be that this would be like a light box or like a digital display that people could interact with, right? While we also have like, again, the hand painted, the human element.
Yeah.
And also we would love to have this as like more light boxes or whatever. But anyway, because we didn't have a budget, this is what we got. It's important to know that because people ask about it.
That's how you end. This is what we got. So we have a big installation in Los Angeles right now. LA on the Move is at Union Station. Biggest train station on the West Coast. And it's really all about how animals kind of move through, Angelinos and animals kind of move through the city. I wanted to point out this, which is a phenomenally large and very detailed map of the entire metro area. It covers about 3 counties. Oh yeah, that's the raffle. Yes, you gotta sign up for the raffle for a t-shirt. And so what's so fascinating is that this is a question for you guys. What do people do when they see a map for the first time?
Try to find themselves.
You got it.
They try to find their home. And so
where they are.
Yeah.
Well, this one, maybe we're influencing you are here.
Well, and this was very purposeful because, yeah, exactly. It's like you might as well say, like, on this big map, where are you standing? And then the secondary is where do you live? And also, like, with where do you live, kids, like, a lot of families are coming up to this. So this is something you can interact with no matter how old you are, and the kids are really into it. So it's proving to be quite successful.
Yes, this is the raffle. We'll get more people. So we want to talk about our inspirations before we wrap up today. One of them is Sister Frida Kent.
Has anyone heard of Sister Frida Kent?
Yay!
Yeah!
We got one.
She's the best.
She's the best. 1960s era nun pop artist, was very much involved in trying to find ways to share joy, especially in the community. She has these 10 rules, which are really interesting. I really like the only rule is work, which is basically do the thing. Right? Don't talk about it, do it.
And she eventually left the order, actually, because I think that she was very interested in some radical concepts like peace and humanism.
Yeah, I know. Peace, it's radical.
Right. So she was too radical for her nunhood. So yeah.
And then the last thing we wanted to cover really quickly is that this feels like a novel approach, but people have actually done ways of large-scale municipal data communication in the past. This is the 1913 New York City Municipal Parade. This is a parade that went the length of Broadway. Over 1 million people came despite incredible rain downpours. You can see the umbrellas and other things. These are actually horse-drawn wagons that have data displays on them. One of them, in the story here, it talks about they had a giant mosquito, and it was all about certain ways of hygiene.
This is very interesting because the health department had a float, and basically the theme of it was statistical information, and then a city buys its own death rate was what the float was about. And basically it was like, if we have these new tools, vaccines, sanitation, then we can reduce the death rate. So just as we recently had a pandemic, the same concern was happening during this time, especially with the city, and coming up with like new modern ideas about sanitation.
It turns out that vaccinations work. Who would have thought?
Right. And also milk was very, anyway, doesn't matter. It poured this day and it kind of like put a damper on this. But one of the reasons we started the Data Vandals is because we had this fantasy that we would reenact this parade.
Yeah, we'd make a
In
parade.
its glory and entirety.
So
And it
you
has
heard it
not
here
happened
first.
yet, but sometimes when the Data Vandals say things out loud, it actually comes true, which is really terrifying because certain things we're like, oh no, that actually happened.
I know. So what's next?
What's next is our LA project. So this is a mural that will be on the side of the tent we're making, and the reason it says "come on over" is because we want people to literally come over and use some of our data collecting tools to talk about the city of LA, and also talk about the upcoming Olympics, and also talk about the World Cup, and also talk about how they feel in the city in a positive sense.
Yeah.
But
LA
not
love.
not all pie in the sky. Also, you know, little friction there, which we always like to throw in. And then Jason has placed, I did the artwork, and then Jason has a lot of statistical information about the city on the sides here. And this thing is what, going to be 15?
Yeah, it's 8 by 15 feet.
8 by 15.
And we also are working on a graphic novel about financing the healthcare system.
Which is
Like,
fascinating,
Pretty,
actually.
pretty chill.
Right. So
Pretty chill.
so this is
Oh,
like
sorry.
this is like a lot of within the book. We have our own section that we've illustrated. So we've taken the data about the health system, how America got its health system, where does it come from, where does the money flow in and out, and so we've illustrated that. So once again, you're not looking at just dry text where you're just like, oh my God, what a nightmare. We're actually trying to make it a little clever, a little bit fun, and trust me, we've learned a lot from this. There are so many things I didn't know about the U.S. health system.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up. So we have a bunch of events coming. Yay! Thank you for that applause. All right. You don't have to hold this
Yes.
applause.
And
You don't have to hold that
if
applause.
anyone
That's
has
good.
any questions, did you do a question time? You don't have
No.
to ask a
No,
question.
just come and talk to us. Take a newspaper. We've got our friends from Slip Slips have their literary magazine here, and do the t-shirt raffle. Thank you.
And we're also, I will say one last thing, we're open to events. Or
Yes, if you want to get involved.
Yes, get involved, but also like if you have an idea about data, communication, New York City, we even want to have like little mini film festivals at some point.
Yeah, DJ events.
So you can always reach
I
out
still
to
want
us.
to do a
And
chef dinner.
Here's our part. Yeah, we'd love to do like a chef's dinner in this space because everybody would love that, right? To eat in the subway at a table. I do have more cards, but that's about it.
Because is this your only space? Or do you have others? I mean, there must be tons of others like this.
We do not want to do that, sir.
Yeah.
That is a lot of work.
I
But we're encouraging
so much.
other people to do it because we're
There
like
has to be one, and like there has to be hundreds of these.
We-
little-
Oh, you're from NTA?
Yeah, I know. Well, and
There's an
we talked about it because we were like, okay, we could franchise this, but we do have a lot going on in different cities.
How many of you are there?
There's two of us.
There's two
Just
data
the two
vandals.
of you.
There's two data vandals.
You don't have others of you in other cities.
There's a bunch
Let's
of
go
there's
to
a
the
bunch of
cities.
transportation systems that have started to reach out, and so
Yeah.
we'll figure out if we'll maybe consider hiring.
We also have a
It might turn into
16-year-old
something that's
son.
more of a franchise.
You mentioned you didn't get a grant for this space. How are you funding the other?
I mean, we both have other jobs.
Are you guys volunteers?
Volunteers, is that really the right word? I would say, this is what I told somebody who came here one
You
time.
have other jobs.
We have other jobs, yeah. We have other jobs.
I get roped to a lot of volunteer stuff.
Yeah, okay, this is what I say, same thing. I'm like, okay, there was one Sunday I was here in his space for like 4 hours. I was like, I've already been to a brunch, I've already worked out, I went to a movie. I did my work, I'm here, like,
What's your Instagram? Where do I find your stuff?
Some of these wording, like, we have a need for some of the things we do. It's not usually put that money back into the database. So let's say in LA, we made, we're very tight, so let's say our fee is $3,000, right? It's not But anyway, put that back in your bank account.
I know that's fine. My niece is pediatric.
Yeah, that was fun. I can find your application on the inside.
3,000.
So
I'm
that's
taking
what
different
we
spots. Okay, I'm on 13th and 5th.
Oh, nice.
You use some of that also. It's a non-alcoholic cafe.
We're gonna start.
Like we almost won this big prize called the Baby Prize. And we're like the finalists. We did not win it, even though in my mind I never expected that money. But we did win. So we'll apply again. We're not against it, we just seem to never have enough time. But we try. And you know how it is. A lot of grant applications now have been certified. Back in the day, I mean, about 5 weeks.
We'll do another talk in about maybe 10 minutes. Hey, how are you?
You should hire somebody to apply for grants for you, like for commission.
We actually will, like we definitely want that. We're definitely into hiring some people like for some things. If we can ever fill up our coffers enough that we can decide
We're getting pretty close.
we're okay. Yeah.
But you don't have to pay the grant applicant person. Just every grant they get a piece of their grant.
That sounds like a great plan for me, but that's the only problem is New York's always hustling so hard. They're like, well, I can't do it, but we'll find some people.
How do you get the city to?
Sure. Just a way to get in touch with you.
So we found this email. We wrote to this woman, Mira, and she actually came to the
Right there.
and like and she was like, we didn't have the MTA cleared, and they're really not. We're not supposed to sell it. But we have a website, we have a t-shirt, we sell, giveaway, like stuff. But it was right for her, and she's trying to keep on. And she basically came to the MTA. She was a job at the MTA. And she told us that she was a meeting and they were like, can you take over the vacancy?
do you want to do?
And I was like,
It's a t-shirt.
process email.
Yeah.
Just saw it somewhere online, but then it had a little email. So I thought it would have a link that was like, if you want to apply, it's a link and it's like a business email. But they want people that have spaces to get this maybe public. We also know that it's a hard person space on 28. And it was huge. It had an external theater, and it was like 4 times the size.
If you are database.com.
Yeah.
And a way to contact you.
And the one we looked at was so damaged, it had been closed for so long, it had water damage, electrical damage. So we would have had to apply, let's say, we needed $12,000 to get it fixed. And it would have been like contracts. The only thing we did near the MTA, we did all the lights for us. And, but otherwise, we just did everything else. It was in good.
Yeah, we've done a lot. We're
like, well, this is right up our alley. Why don't we all like have a dinner or lunch or something?
I work on about tagging up the city and have things in your ears or
Champion for artists, and it's kind of changed the way.
Somehow you get sucked in, but you know, it used to be when you have Time Out New York or the Village Boys, and everybody's reading it, and now it's like there's no. I mean, of course, there's a million websites out there. It's like there's not a natural communication system in the city where you're like, what's going on this weekend? And so maybe
something for everyone. And like, I'm gonna save us all $40 billion. I'm not gonna worry about that. Everyone else is cool. But I'm gonna set targets. I'm so happy to talk about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there like
The more the merrier. So you started
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
He's very accessible. He likes our generation of artists and people. So he comes out to our area of Brooklyn and advocates for affordable housing, but also affordable art spaces and converting some of these defunct business and office spaces
Yeah, he's
into
still talking
into
about it.
residents and nonprofits.
He's such a great artist,
So,
too.
it's been really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I hope things get overturned.
I mean, we literally live on
What
the
is your
bend,
name?
so that's why it's so
Joyce,
funny
I'm very
like, for
similar.
us.
Nice to
It's
meet you.
like,
I don't think anybody knows about it. Yeah, I think we should. Yeah. I'm gonna go check
So, I don't think we learned about it. I started it felt like it was like, now we it's just there. That's the Jacob Reese.
oh yeah. So the band is free. And do you guys create in different spaces?
Yeah, they choose like different spaces based on the it's very even. It's like planning our next exhibition is, but TBD.
And are you one of the curators?
I just
It would be great if Chinatown had a space, a permanent space.
Yeah.
Much more like contemporary and like fluid than just the museum.
Like,
you know?
yeah,
I'm always fine, but
yeah.
it'd be nice to spend.
Yeah, so that storefront actually, they do want to like have spaces and like actually engage the community and like come in. I know they were like trying to find a person to do that, like how to engage the Chinatown community. I'm not sure what's going on, but I know they're like really close, so hard for them to like maintain.
I know that there have been some like murals and even like video mapping things on Mulberry
Oh yeah.
and Mod. I've heard like some different like websites about it, but then like it didn't seem to like stick or something like that. It's just like kind of a one-off.
I think what you're saying is right. There's a budget for it. And meanwhile, like in Tribeca, it's like the art, contemporary art world is like bursting.
Yeah.
Although they are closing some galleries. We noticed some galleries have closed, so maybe
Yeah.
they couldn't.
Tribeca's not
those huge
holding
rents.
quite as much.
Yeah, but it'd be nice if, you know, Tribeca didn't drift over to Chinatown, like they kind of
Yeah.
kept it
Yeah. They really did.
Yeah.
We can do it right now.
And when, okay, so.
Yeah, 4:30. 4:30. There you go.
Thursdays and Sundays. There's a book on Saturday and Sunday from 3 to 5.
Is this the haircut?
Yeah.
All right, let's put that on the list.
Yeah.
Yep.
And,
Fine, we're going to do our next talk in just a few minutes.
So, easiest probably books.
Ooh, those are cool.
Yeah. One is probably
You go from New York Tech Week to an anti-tech night?
Yeah.
I don't know, that kind of feels like something we could do too.
I found that in Yes.
Next to you.
I work for a company called Exhibit we're like in
Why is everyone staring at
Most of the time, there's some people with a box of snake knives. With a box of snake knives.
Hello. Hi. We're going to do a talk in a few minutes. You're welcome to join. You don't have to, but you can. You will.
I wanted to specifically connect with you guys because I'm a graffiti artist of some note, and in the city, in terms of data vandalism, it's an interesting time because there's a new technology that's been implemented in the subway without the knowledge of the public. That facial recognition software, and I unfortunately have I'm in contact with it. But luckily, all cases have been thrown out because they don't want to make a public announcement of its existence yet.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
That's a good thing.
That's
to
wild.
know.
They're called deployable cameras. They're not circular.
Yeah, I saw something about that. I saw a video about someone talking about privacy concerns, and they talked about exactly.
Oh my God! For criminal mischief, that's great.
Yeah, it's for vandalization of deployable cameras.
Wow.
I took as many off of the subway wall as I could. I said, get your friends, sign them and stuff. But it was like this little wire that looked like a berry was hanging off this thing. I was about to hit it with a sticker. I was like, what is that? And I just plucked it. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that everybody should go around or whatever, but New York does have a tradition of kind of making your mark on the city. And as it becomes totally corporatized, like that's why we did something like this, because everything's being so smoothed out. When you're on the platform and it's just screens telling you what to buy. Right. That's it. But what I did love is that stupid AI billboard that everybody graffitied the living shit out of. So that was fun. That was like a very New York thing.
When we did the vinyl on the outside, we started designing it. I said, do you have any tips about what would deter vandalism? And they said, don't make any white empty spaces.
Or black empty space.
Yeah.
Or black?
So freaking
Yeah, that
makes
tempting.
sense. I mean, we've been to graffiti twice.
Okay, but I will talk about the graffiti. So first of all, on the Statue of Liberty, they wrote your mama, which we were like,
So it
fine.
said, who's your neighbor?
Yeah.
And they wrote as an answer that your mama.
And they
which
wrote
is
it
like-
very respectfully, as if it fit. And then there was other graffiti that we wiped off with the MTA special graffiti remover, and it was more like junk on the floor. It was like somebody was trying to make us feel like it was you would call crazy talk, but it was so like if you came in over the 70s, that also is very New Yorkish, where somebody's just like rambling.
I'm knocking wood. This is wood.
But people, I feel like people have been fairly respectful of
reading it, kind of just being like recognizing it and not trying to like. Right, it's like, yeah.
So the former history of our town, again, I'm in wood, I'm in yeah. I think that's the wrap, what's
Just by you guys together, garage. I should put something on
All right, let's do this thing.
All right, we're gonna do this. All right. Well, the pleasure's ours. Yeah, and you know, come back.
Yeah,
You should do
we'll look
something.
up your
I
stuff.
missed the beginning of your thing, so I'll stay for the
Okay, good.
All right.
All right.
Well, you want to move along
Hold on
a
a second,
little
let me-
faster this time?
Well, I don't know. It's up to you. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So here we are, New York Tech Week.
Woo! New York Tech
New
Week.
York Tech Week. New York Tech Week. I'm gonna
Say something.
Hello, check, check.
Sorry about that. Sorry. You gotta have some feedback, don't you?
No,
I'm gonna turn
you
my
don't.
mic down
Not
a little
really.
bit.
Okay.
I'm louder. Okay.
You are.
How do you have a conversation with the city?
Right. So okay, let's start this again. Because I was going to say,
Welcome.
okay, glad to have a conversation with the city. Go to the next.
We are the Data
We are the
Vandals.
Data Vandals. I'm Jen Ray, and I make most of the artwork. All the work that you see in the subway here, the gallery newsstand, I painted in this newsstand.
Yeah. And I'm Jason. I do the database stuff. Our work's evolved over the last 4 years. We've become really interested in how to use data as a bridge to facilitate conversations. So it all started innocently enough with this exhibition we had at the Cooper Union downtown, and at the very end, we literally just slapped these pieces of paper up and put some stickers because we wanted it just to be kind of interactive. But people went crazy with the data, and we gave out 2,000 stickers in 3 days.
Right, and not just interactive in the sense of the digital sense, but we knew all of these people were coming to the show. We knew a lot of them were New Yorkers, some of them were students, some of them were visitors, and we really wanted to kind of take the temperature of who was at the exhibition. Most art exhibitions, you're passively looking at things, not your exhibition, but you're passively looking at things, and then you kind of see it and leave. And we were like, we want something a little bit more than that, right? We want people to actually take the time and kind of get to know the other people at the show. That was part of it, right?
Exactly.
Like strangers talking to strangers.
And this is a great example because these two guys were friends, but these other folks weren't. They didn't know each other. And right after this photo, they all started kind of analyzing and discussing all the data together. And we realized this is a pretty special phenomenon. And so we had the opportunity of building a project for London Data Week with Canva. And what we did is we took this 1980s Piaggio Ape, a three-wheeled vehicle, drove it around London, and conducted this kind of survey with different folks. The survey itself was this big poster. I love it, I hate it, classy, trashy, a matrix. And as you can see, we had a big sticker sheet, and then people would kind of put the different stickers in the different quadrant. And we drove this around to 6 different neighborhoods. King's Cross, Euston Street, City Hall, London King's College, London School of Data, and the Church Street Market, which was a vegetable market for first-generation immigrants. Well, what's so interesting is that as people went through the process of you give them a sticker and they went to put it on the poster, they would tell you why. They would say, for example, if you go back here, the subjects were very London-oriented, right? So foxes. Hey, Jacob. So foxes are a very controversial subject in London. They're cute, crafty, but they're also overpopulating. And when they mate, they have this like horrible sound of like people being murdered.
Okay, yeah, and also with like cycling paths, I want to say something about that, but I will say that every time we do a project in another city that we don't know that much about, we rely on our partners to create the story and to exchange information. So they help kind of guide us with these stickers. And we were like, cycling paths, everybody loves cycling paths, aren't they fun? And we have since learned that it's, and maybe some people here know this, it's just a sign of gentrification and a sign of things to come. And it isn't positive to a lot of people in the community, which we had no idea. And so even though we created these with our partners, we still are learning a lot along the way. We learn a lot in here, you know, about people's ideas about things, and we try to twist and curve our expectations as we go along and not fill in the gaps.
And our work is very much an experiment. We think of our work every time as having like an in-round-bound hypothesis. Like, how will people work with the posters? Will they know how to use it? Will it be certain kind of like, will we have to explain it too much? And so what we would do eventually, especially with folks and across the different neighborhoods, is I would start and just say, what's your opinion about foxes? And I remember this one sweet old lady, she was like, foxes like the biscuit? And I was like, no, like the animals. And she was like, oh, I fucking hate them. And she was just like, had this like huge personality. And then we put the sticker on the poster, and then she was off. And as she went through and put the stickers on, we realized that these conversations came out, right? They would explain exactly why they were in the different spots. And so here's a 8 of the 10 posters that we made in 2 days. You can see this kind of different trends. Do you want to talk about some of the takeaways, Jen? So one of the things that was interesting was
about how people they kind of flip, once again, flipping our expectations. Like this. Okay. So as we go back to talking about our stickers, for instance, billionaires, right? London billionaires. We were like, well, everybody hates billionaires, and it turned out that the people in places where, okay, like King's College, where you're kind of minting new billionaires potentially, they hated the billionaires. Normal people at like the market were like, billionaires are fine with us. Tourists are totally fine with us. And so, once again, our expectations, our preconceived notions are smashed. And I do think that's part of what the data labels want to do. We're not taking our opinions and ideas and shoving them on you, which is what technology feels like a lot of the time. We're like, we're trying to learn from you, you're trying to learn some from us, and at the end of the day, we kind of come away both knowing something new about each other.
It became more of a provocation of a conversation, right? Where people would start to talk about the data, put their stickers, but then they would start to share their life stories, right? This would become a conversation. The conversation started kind of branching into different subjects, and that just became really interesting. And that's what led here to the newsstand. So this is a part of the Vacant Unit Activation Program. It took us about a year to get the space because we realized in London we only had like one moment. This is weird. I don't know. Our new speaker's sounding weird. Uh-oh. Could be the fan. No, something's. Oh, you think it's that fan?
Oh, maybe stand a little bit away.
Ooh, interesting.
It's the proximity of your mic to it.
Really? Oh, thank you. That's exciting. That's exciting. See, community. We're learning community. Anyways, the whole idea, how do we have like a longitudinal conversation with this?
It's too hot for you to stand over here. All right, so this is our opening night, so to speak. We've been here for about 7 weeks now, and we have the space for a year. And this was more like, come on, friends, come on over and invite more people. And we had, as you can see, quite a crowd. And we started off by, these are kind of like our surveys and questions. You know, do you plan to be in New York City in 5 years? But this was interesting. And once again, we were like, how are you feeling about New York City? And so we've lived here twice, and we lived here in 2 different time periods that had very different attitudes. So I was like, well, people are going to be like, I love it, I hate it. It's like, love, hate.
Everybody loved it.
But everybody, not everybody, right? But most people, they are loving New York, and they are really excited about being in the city, which was wonderful to hear about, because we do think there is more positivity here than there ever has been. Even though that we have the same complaints about rising rents, inequality, billionaires buying apartments and then having them empty, and food prices, whatever. We have the same complaints. But overall, there is kind of a positive attitude about what's happening.
Absolutely. So, okay. Oh no, my tangent. So there's a woman standing right over here, and she wouldn't talk to us. This is kind of a thing that happens. Sometimes people kind of just look in. They don't talk to us, but you can see they're very interested. And she's looking over there, and she's looking at the board. And finally, she came over, grabbed the sticker, and put it at the very bottom and said, "Get me out of here." And then she turned around and walked away. Like, really, I told you, New York.
She might I have been having a bad day.
Get me out of here. So as I said, we're here to do these surveys. There's the one behind you about the 401st birthday. We're starting this grassroots movement to try to celebrate 401 years of New York. Did anybody here know that New York was 400 years old?
Last year.
There's one.
Right.
Two. Last year. Well, yeah.
1624, right?
1624. Oh, thank you. Got a historian here. 1624 is when they arrived and they started, but 1625 is what the seal of the city has, and you can see our version of it on the back. We remade the seal of the newspaper. Yeah.
Right. And it was convenient for us to say that it was 1 year past.
Yeah. But I mean, it was last year, and Eric Adams didn't do nothing.
One of the reasons we started the Data Vandals during the pandemic is we felt like there was all this stuff happening, and New Yorkers were supporting New Yorkers, and we were trying to like keep up the good fight. And then city leaders didn't really have anything for us, right? There was no like, way to go, New York, or like we're in this together. It felt like that was what people in New York were saying, New Yorkers. But the mayor and the mayor's office was kind of like, oh, it does suck, right? Because everybody in America thinks it sucks, and that kind of
They were pushing back against
that provided the impetus for us to start this project. We were like, we want New Yorkers to start like communicating with each other and basically showing everyone how awesome we are.
So we have these
Through
surveys
data.
through data. So this is the survey we started the program with. We actually had this is our third survey now. So this is basically write a note to the New York, and that behind there. And then once you get the data, we actually analyze it. So you can see over here to our right, the analysis of the first survey, and the next one's going in soon enough. So you can see only 87% people, 87% of people came that did not know about the city's 400th birthday. And we're hoping that
most people didn't know.
87% said
But they did not know.
Yeah. So anyways, the point of this whole thing is that in time, this will hopefully have more of a conversational kind of bent. And so it's New York Tech Week, so I thought we'd talk a little bit about tech. The first thing that we learned is that most people don't like data or technology. And it's funny because I'm a tech person, a data geek, so to speak. And we were just shocked. And as we talked to people, we realized that people felt like the data was kind of washing over them, that they didn't have agency to control it, to understand it. The other thing is that Jen made me change it from most people to many people dislike AI. We've heard that. People go out of their way to complain about AI. But the other thing is that we realize that when you take data, digital information, and you make it physical, it just hits totally differently. People have a much different reaction to it. They'll literally stop in their tracks and look at a number because they're just not used to seeing data on the street.
Yes. That is correct.
That is correct. We actually use quite a bit of AI these days. I did a lot of the research for the 400-year history of Manhattan out there. Unfortunately, it took me 10 minutes to generate it and 3 weeks to QA it. But, I guess that's part of where we are. And we're doing lots more kind of digital tools. So where we're going next is to collaborate with an AI researcher. He's got a project called Civic AI Tools, which is using the MCP technology to basically authenticate and verify the math behind how civic data is calculated. It's something that can kind of go away to kind of verify survey results. We're also working with the city of Los Angeles to build a new data set. When you think about kind of public data, urban data, it's predominantly based on complaints and ultimately things that are kind of negative. So we're starting this project called LA Loves to collect data about what people love, their affinities.
Yeah.
And we're also exploring a big touch screen. We want to actually fill this in.
That's our fantasy. We don't have a budget for the space. We kind of just put money in as we go along, and we can talk about that more later. But our ideal would that this would be a touch screen, or even like half light box, half touch screen. So there's some things in here. I mean, look, you put that like high level.
I know, that's some fancy technology right there. We are live streaming.
High tech.
This is live streaming.
Well, you should tell people if you're live streaming. That's not fair.
No, it makes it better.
I'm always doing something in here, and Jason's like, well, we are live streaming. And I'm like, what? You tell me. But I will say one thing we didn't talk about last time, which was kind of an innovation for us. So when we started, we did hand paint everything. It took ages. I would literally lock myself in a studio and create artwork for like an exhibition for the Data Vandals. It would take forever. And then we started, now we have the show in LA. What we started to do is make small artworks, which Jason
This is said show in LA.
Right, exactly. So this is a huge exhibition, and we just are so in love with this show because it's in Union Station, which is the most beautiful Art Deco environment you can imagine. But everything here was made in New York City. I painted it quite small. We scanned it on a cheap Sony flatbed scanner. And then Jason used Canva and Flourish to turn it into the designs that you see here. So that was a way that we could use technology to handcraft it, the original pieces, but also send it, all the way across America. So that was really important.
Yeah, it still feels kind of analog and handmade, but it has a digital.
Everything's
feel.
handmade. I'm always like, we're trying to get away from like the clip art, the anonymous, the things that don't really excite your imagination because it just feels all cobbled together, clip art AI BS.
So when I show this map, this is the map that's composed of hundreds of elevation maps and hundreds of satellite maps put together. So you have a 3D map of the entire metro area of Los Angeles. It's extremely detailed, and the question is, what happens when people see a map for the first time? They want to find their home. They look for their home.
Both things. So we put like people here because of course, but once you know you are here at Union Station, then you can orient yourself more easily around the map of where you live.
If we want to talk about our inspiration before we wrap up, the first is Sister Karita Kent.
So who knows about Sister Karita Kent? No one? Okay, well, she's not that popular. We always think that she should be wildly popular, but she was a nun in the mid-60s and beyond that. But she was a teacher and basically a radical because she was kicked out of her sisterhood because she had such crazy notions like world peace or helping each other or, treating women with, having equal rights. And so eventually she kicked out.
She also had these rules which are really interesting. They kind of were riffing off of ideas from Buckminster Fuller and John Cage. And one of the things I like the most about it is it's at the bottom says there should be new rules next week.
Right. And
I love the idea that it's always kind of in flux.
And she was friends, like Jason said, with Buckminster Fuller, with the Eames, all of the great California designers. She was pretty close friends with. So it wasn't just like this isolated nun out in the middle of nowhere. And you can see these are her graphics. A lot of her graphics are taken from advertisements at grocery stores. So she was really into this idea of like the kind of graphics that you see every day, kind of like extracting those because they're very relatable and very beautiful. And so that was kind of what she did. But I'm also a very strict teacher, like a really great art teacher.
Yeah, she's hardcore. So the other thing I want to last but not least, we want to talk about the New York City Municipal Parade. So what we do is novel, but not necessarily unique. So this was a parade that happened in 1913. Every city department had to make a float or some kind of representation of this parade. It went the length of Broadway. 1 million people came despite all of the heavy downpours you can see from the umbrellas. So they would actually have these horse-drawn wagons that would have different data displays about them, about sanitation and health trends in health. There's a whole thing about they had a giant mosquito that was there to teach you about diphtheria.
Right, and then in this little box it says it's all the health department's float. So it says the health department's exhibit was pretty much a matter of placard statistics, and it was called "A City Buys Its Own Death Rate." So basically, they were very interested in teaching through statistics and visuals information about having a healthy city and having its populace understand all these things about the city. And our fantasy. I swear to God, when we started this project, we were like, well, we're going to have this parade. We're going to do it again.
We're going to do a parade.
And the city,
we
have friends at the city, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. We don't have a budget. We were like, okay, that's a bit of a problem because we want to have these floats.
We will do a parade.
But a lot of times, like when we fantasize about the data vandals, some of it comes true. So I think that we eventually will have this parade, and people could just make their own floats and like just join us, right? We'll just shut down the streets. I don't know.
Whose project was the parade? Was that a mayor?
It was a city project, which city departments basically, and I think they were probably telling people what their tax money was being spent for.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that we're working with cities more and more, and I think that cities are very interested in like transparency and telling citizens what they're actually using their money for. We don't know.
So wrapping up, we've got.
We wish we did know.
So people ask us what's next. So as I said, we're working with the City of Los Angeles on this project for FIFA. It starts next week. This is the LA Loves data. So we'll be out there next week in public parks to do similar activations. And then we're also working on a mini graphic novel all about the finances of the U.S. healthcare system.
Yes.
So we're excited about taking like unusual challenges.
Well, okay, but talking about this just for a moment. So this book is a book about how money affects the U.S. healthcare system and how our system got to be the way it is, right? And so what they've asked us to do is, in the middle of the book, provide graphics and information and data points kind of about the history of how this all came to be. So a lot of people are going to look at a book with just all this dense text and just be like, oh my God, help me. This is like, it's so problematic, but I just can't dig into it. So I think this is once again a way to like make it friendly and inviting, and you will learn a lot from it. And it's an entry point into the rest of the text. And I learned a tremendous amount, most of it frightening.
Yeah, one of the things we love about doing data panels is that we feel like we learn every time we come here. Whenever we meet people, they tell us about different aspects of the city and their own knowledge and blah, blah, blah. And so anyways, that's it. Go to datapanels.com. That's our website. We've got a postcard. We've got our newspaper. Our friends Slips have their literary magazine behind you. Fill out the survey. And we also have events. So we're here every Sunday. We're
Sometimes Fridays.
Sometimes Fridays and Tuesdays, and we have our Slips of Friends. We're going to have a whole reading on Friday the 26th, and we're going to see how late we can stay. We're going to do DJ sets.
Yes.
We're
going to turn this into like a couple of I don't know what we need, right? Like a
computer,
a DJ, a computer.
Anyway,
and we
that's
also
it.
want to have like a little mini film festival.
Oh, and you can have the raffle for the T-shirt.
Right.
We give out the wrap every week.
We give 2 T-shirts away.
Yeah.
2 T-shirts on Sundays.
All right, we'll do this again all over it in 30 minutes.
And any questions you may have, just come on up.
Thank you for that generous applause. Thank you. No, you're too kind. No.
And then in the act of like leaning in and collaborating with the locals, it gets like more and more interesting. Thanks for coming back. So for example, in LA, they actually have a lot of really poor quality of life surveys, and then the mayor's office kind of knows, like they had the fires, the whole ice kind of thing that happened from last summer. So they're actually dealing with a lot of very low quality survey results. And initially, they were like, how do folks in the positive? And then through the conversations, they're like, yeah, but we actually need to know how people feel about services. And they moved away from like, help us plan for the Olympics to like, what's the first thing you would do to actually? So it's interesting. And we never would have gotten here if it wasn't for like
And I like how where the answers are actually
so with this one, right, we thought it was going to be a lot more I thought that people were going to solve the thing. I thought community is going to be the number one of arts and culture. So I thought it was going to be like integration, like the whole thing. This is money, relationships, and fun, and the documentary. Like, you guys have better eyes. Totally terrible. And so what the show is this, is that we didn't have New York natives, and people didn't crew them, right? And so again, with a lot of collaboration that happens, and like how she did those people in the year, that's the way I would have done it. But what's interesting is that people are starting to like put the stickers on the different techniques, and that's fascinating.
I think they come from it. Jason learned about databases, and there are certain pathways to gathering data. Since I'm an artist, I'm like, why don't we just do it like that? And you come in and you're like, why do you do it like that? Like, I was like, well, I don't see what happens. But I'm like, okay, you said it's not like you do it, but people still put stickers on it. Like, if no one put stickers on it, I'd be like, all right, nobody understands what's going on. Anyway. Yeah, and I think that's what works for the data vandals. There's only 2 of us. It's just us. And Jason's like more we went to art school together, technically.
And I studied painting and drawing and printmaking, and Jason studied like new media, whatever that was back then. And but you have always worked in new media and tech, and so kind of those two kind of come together with this project. Because I'm an artist like with my own practice, separate from this. I would never do this by myself in years. And it just started off, we were invited to an exhibition, to be part of an exhibition. And it was about data. And I said, well, why would you just show data like in a boring way? I was like, why don't you do a performance art piece about data? And that's kind of what started it. And that's why we always look at the parade, because we were like, we can make a float about data. And instead we made like this huge stack of cardboard boxes with all kinds of data points. And, we had some balloons that people could pop, and then data points would like fall out of the balloons.
You always want to like feel the data. We
had like this, put your hand in and feel what the data, like one time somebody put their hand in and they felt it was a data point, and it was about women-owned businesses on the Lower East Side. And I think somebody guessed, probably because they know me, they're like, is this women-owned businesses on the Lower East Side?
Oh, and there's a pin down here for the raffle if you want to put yourself, and you can sign in as well. Look, people are signing in.
I will say one last thing about that. So Jason had been working with all these spreadsheets, all these databases, and I've never seen data in these databases essentially in the same way. Like,
You work for the two right there on the public facing work. And you can actually solve like how people work with data. It's like, what?
It's horrible. It was like so boring. And I was like, how does a normal person parse this data? How do they get anything out of it? And that's kind of another reason about the data banks, because it's like, let's take that and put it into the signage or these drawings. So people are like, oh, I didn't know that, there were, 600,000 dogs in New York City. And also with the city's open data portal, that was another thing I looked at we get a lot of our information from the census and the city's data tools. But when I saw the data tools, I was like, what normal person ever would do? Jason was like, oh, look at this. Like, look at this.
a data saver.
I think it's great because the city, they think about and they want the public to interact with it. It's really important, and the people that we know in the city, they're really passionate about it. It's just that, they're not putting it in an artistic format. That's not their job. Yeah. And they don't have time. They're very busy.
Although they do have like space for that at the data week, right?
Exactly. We did that as well.
We did a workshop there.
We laid
this year.
workshops, yeah. Yeah. So they invite us, and
the exhibition, Data Through Design, is the exhibition that we started. That's what was
that was our
first
show, yeah. And that's a great exhibition. It just keeps growing. So there's definitely that kind of pathway adjacent to the other stuff.
Thank you.
Coming. And you can find us on our socials, because we are going to start planning for events. And then we're also open to, somebody, we're going to have a couple of people take over the space, or like we'll find ways to collaborate. So everybody's going to be sharing this data with anybody that wants it.
It's all anonymized. I'll commit it back to the MIC at the data.
You guys should like at the end of the year, like if you can't get this parade going, do like a New York City draft kind of thing. All the departments and organizations. Like, instead of like having to make a physical thing, it's definitely like an easier place to involve people.
No, I think that's a good idea. And there's just so many interactions like that we want to have. And, I think people are open to it.
It's becoming hard to keep up with. Because like we're here like 3 days a week. Which is like 9 hours in the subway, but then it's so it kind of takes out a little bit of your work. But then it's like so many different people come.
Right, and we both have separate jobs, or multiple jobs. Like this is like a one part of But then this is so much fun. Like I was late today because I was painting something for LA, and I was like furiously painting and scanning it and like running over here. So, but we have other jobs from this. Yeah, I always want to say that because I'm like, we're not just locked in the subway all day. Like, you may ask yourself, like, what are they doing in here? Standing here the whole time. But
All right, so we're almost time for our next lecture, which is the last
Everybody's
lecture.
gonna leave, and
again.
then we won't be talking.
You don't have to leave.
Well, the other one, it's the same.
We have new friends.
Okay, all right, you're staying for the next round?
Yeah.
Okay, good, all right. That's fantastic. Check it out. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you in, we'll probably see you this weekend.
Yeah.
I'd love to come over.
Before I introduce myself, I'm Christian. I heard you guys on the policy biz.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah, it was cool.
I
And
was
my
like,
students
did
love
he-
you guys, so
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah, I'm one of the stuff I had to say hello.
And are you here, where are you in the city?
I'm teaching at Brooklyn College right now, so I'm
Oh,
in
okay.
like the Brooklyn Queens area.
Great, all
I was
right.
in the city, I was like, oh, run that stuff off.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, and we want to have more students come by. We've had a couple
Or we
of
can
student
come to
groups.
you. We'll do-
Yeah,
we'll do
actually,
talks.
Jason went to speak to a journalism class at Columbia, and then they came here.
Whoa.
And so, yeah.
They all came right here.
Well,
About
was it?
six of them did, but this one
Not
really
that many.
the kind of like the bright student that's like right in the front that had all the questions. She came with her dad, and that guy was like had a million jokes. He's like a lifelong New Yorker. He was like, it was
He's
great.
like the old timey New Yorker.
No, that guy was life of the party. We love him.
Cool.
So yeah, we're always open to talking.
Yeah,
to
so I see your
students.
stuff here. So yeah,
Yeah.
or
thanks
just
so much.
write our email. Like,
Yeah.
easy.
All right, so
That was awesome.
should we start again?
Yeah, we've got.
Have a seat if you want to. We're gonna find more students.
But this is so cool. I don't know. I live like 2 blocks from here.
You come before.
No, I haven't been. I've never been. I've been to, but like every time I walk past, I don't know when it's open. I don't know. I'm not really like planning my day. Like, oh, I have to be in a subway station. It's not. Like, so I just get it open. It's really cool to see you guys. Hopefully, I can see
Well, on the 26th, we'll have a whole winter event where we have Friday night. We may have alcohol, technically illegal. So it's illegal. Very
We have for a second will be in our first recording. If we're going to hear the conference, and everybody has like water, we have annual. And then like 5 cups of water. I was like, wow, around for a second. And it's so funny that our contact with the campaign, she came at this party and she had some prosecco too. So it's fine.
Yeah, that's probably.
It's all right as long as we're, serving it like that.
Right, yeah. It's just, it's like, it's fruit juice or something.
It's fruit juice, exactly.
Except for that one lady, she's like stumbled.
She really likes fruit juice.
Probably had 2 drinks
it's on our,
already, and
yeah,
then
Native Bands
more.
MIC at,
So yeah. But I was a little worried, like we had this event, and
and
we should do it again, but we had a costume contest, and it was like dress as your favorite New Yorker, and this little girl won because she dressed as an American Girl doll from like the Lower East Side, like immigrant girl. She won. But it got a little crowded on the platform. I got a little worried it would get too close, but everybody was fine.
Okay.
Maybe we need to balance it out.
Well, I don't.
We had that
You never
exhibition
have
out
that
there, and
much
it's actually becoming so
No,
popular.
and I was
We're
like,
going
if
back
we
every
have a
month.
movie night,
So we've got 3 more
I
projects
think
in
we
LA
could all right,
that are
that's
happening. So we'll be there
3,
next week and then
9,
in late July
10
and in
maybe.
August. So it's
10
crazy.
people sitting. So we'll
Yeah,
see
we
what
did this.
happens.
We kept all the. This is for the signs. This is
Oh,
the data, the
maybe
sources,
then.
and the map for all the signs on the wall.
We had the Warriors playing on the screen, and
So
when
we
we're
had
in
this
here,
friend
we try
come
to like
in,
play something
and
New
he
York-y
was like,
that's
I doubt
old
that
style
10% of all human
Yeah, we
languages
just,
are spoken in New York.
You guys should play this.
And
Oh my God, what are you going to try to get us shut down?
And so then I went and got all the sources.
Maybe if we
So when
shut
he
the
came
gate,
back,
we're like,
he asked the question,
this is,
okay, there's
members only
760
club
languages
for
in place,
adults.
7,000 people have
Actually, I was
spoken.
thinking
So basically, brings
about
up, it's like, oh, you know, and so the same thing for every
shut down the outdoor. I think they have them outside of Madison Square Garden.
I mean, you'll see it's like a variety.
I know, I was
Use a lot of
like,
MIC open data, but there's also just a lot of stuff. Pretty much.
That's the kind of the most speculative one. So there was like a pin count, so they counted the copies in one building, and they did the math to apply to all the buildings in New York, like almost like 1 million buildings, and they used the like crazy giant number of like 26 trillion, and they're like, okay, we can't be that much. So they like broke it like wait, they want to write that to 1 trillion, and they're
I
like,
want to see the news in my lifetime. So there was a guy in here, and I was like,
it's true enough.
where can I see the Knicks?
The
Like, how much
dogs
is it
is
going to
another
cost?
one. Like the
Like,
cats,
right now,
they have a
of
very
course, it's
clear understanding of
literally
like
$10,000,
this agency.
$12,000.
But the
to
dogs
get
is
close.
160,000
I think I could
dogs are
probably see it
registered.
for $500.
They basically based
And then
on
he was
the
like, well, there's a
registration.
they're already outside. I'm like, I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, people like me. For 1 year, they want the next year, so that's
But I see the net one. I mean, I just know more like
Have this place open long enough for people to wander in.
All right, well, let's get the next one going here. Thank you. We'll see you around.
Check.
All right.
Yeah, stay in touch.
Yeah.
Oh wait, should I write my name?
Yeah, please. And the raffle. You got to the raffle.
Every Sunday we give away 2 t-shirts, and you can see the t-shirt over there. It says Native New Yorker, but you don't have to be. But we have had a lot of Native New Yorkers show up.
You guys can hear Jen okay? I'm too loud. I'm too loud. I'm too loud. Oh, I did the wrong one. There we go. Say something, Jen.
Check.
There's a Toy Story activation.
Maybe turn it up just a little
Yeah,
more.
between that and Tracy Morgan, it's wild.
We kept thinking that people were in an argument because it was Tracy Morgan.
I know, it's wild times on the subway these days. All right, so this is our talk. Here we go, New York City Tech Week. This is talk 4 of the afternoon.
What time is it? Is it like midnight?
It's like midnight. I'm pretty sure it's midnight outside. Hi, citizens of New York on the
You
platform.
lose all sense of reality here in the subway.
I know, it's true.
What time is
Well, there's no weather
5:13.
down here.
Okay, so we are the Data Vandals. I'm Jen Ray, and I do most of the artwork.
I'm Jason Forrest. I'm the Dataviz person, and we've been doing Data Vandals for about 4 years now. Our whole work was really about how do we take data and use that as a way to provoke conversations. And so this talk, how do you have a conversation with the city, is kind of going to talk through a little bit of our research and experiments over the last 4 years. It all started a few years ago.
At Cooper Union.
At Cooper Union. So we had this exhibition that was kind of like a little micro museum all about the East Village. And we put up these pictures, these pieces of paper with stickers to just have people kind of participate. And we kind of didn't really think through it very much. We just kind of put it up, and people went crazy for these stickers. There's about 2,000 stickers. Well, we gave away 2,000 stickers in 3 days because of how many stickers we bought.
Right. And it was basically an art exhibition in more of a gallery setting. But when you go to an art exhibition, you usually don't talk to people that much except your friends. You look at the work, you have a drink, and you leave. So with this one, we're like, how do we find a way that people can meet each other?
Yeah.
They can discuss this data. It's kind of a talking point, kind of lights the whole place up. And that is definitely what this did. And I think because like our kind of irreverency comes from like this project, because I just realized we said, how's New York treating you? And we put Lifer, just arrived. And then we had UGG over here. I don't even remember what this was like. Yay! So that kind of like attitude probably came about during this show.
And so what was interesting about it is like, so these 2 guys were friends and all the rest of them didn't know each other. And as right after this photo was taken, they all started talking and kind of collectively analyzing this information and data. And we love the idea that you could use this as a way to kind of bring about community.
And also we love to do this, and I think this does set us apart. We're like, did we miss something or did we get something wrong? And we always leave space for that to happen, like this discussion, or people to contribute information from the neighborhood. Like there was somebody that was like, well, you didn't really talk about this Filipino group of people that live in the neighborhood. And it's a small group, but of course it's important. And so we were like, why don't you write it in so everybody can see it? And I think that does, the reason I say it sets us apart is because I feel like so many people in data and technology they're presenting you this information. They're like, here it is. And we're doing that as well, but we're like, well, let's talk about it.
Yeah, we want to
Maybe
present
we
the
got
data
something screwed
not
up.
as like a way to like enforce authority, but as a way to say like, what's your lived experience? Like, what do you think?
Right. And people come in, we'll talk about this in a minute, but we get a lot of our data from the city's open data portal and also from the census. But people still come in and they're like, no, that can't be right.
Yeah.
Or what? You know, so we have a discussion about it, and then we have all of our source material over there on a clipboard that we can.
So that led to this project that we did in London for Canva. So we took a 1980s Italian delivery vehicle that had 3 wheels, wrapped it in statistics, and drove around the city for 2 days to give this survey kind of about people's quality of life.
And I do want to say one thing about this project. The reason we took it to different locations is because we learned something new from every project, and because we're very experimental, we were like, well, we don't want just to sit in one place and get the feelings and the opinions of one group of people. Right? Like, what good is that if we target somewhere and everybody just kind of says the same thing? So, you know, by taking it to 5 different locations, our data was very interesting and very different in each space.
And so the survey was this poster, I love it, I hate it, classy and trashy, and a little cartogram at the bottom to kind of show where people are from. And then these stickers, and so as you can see, that's about the size of the sticker. And all the subjects, everything was kind of made in collaboration with our friends in London. And they all had like really interesting like reasons. So for example, cycling past, while a form of gentrification, positive and negative, in London it had a different impact because the roads are so small and it created more car congestion. Foxes, while cute and crafty, when they sound like it's a human being murdered and they're overpopulating like wild. And so it was really interesting to kind of get like a different spectrum. London billionaires actually had the most diversity of opinion. We'll talk about that in just a second.
But even the British, like my mother's British, but this really struck a chord with people apologizing. And of course, New Yorkers, we don't do that. And I was like, why would you have that as a sticker? But they were like, trust me.
Oh, yeah.
And people
That's
commented
the thing.
on it. They were like, oh, all the time. Sorry.
So we took this little mobile setup. We went to 6 different locations: City Hall, Houston, subway, King's Cross, a tech incubator, King's College London,
London School of
Economics, and then the Church Street Market, which was a vegetable market for first-generation immigrants. And so all of our projects kind of have an experimental bent. We kind of come into all of them with a inbound hypotheses. And one of the things we were wondering about is like, will people understand how to use the survey? Will people understand how to use the little map part at the bottom? Will we have to explain it? Will we have to approach them in the same ways or different ways? And so what was so fascinating is we realized very quickly that we didn't even have to ask them about having a survey. We could just say, what do you think about foxes? And this one very, very cute older lady came through and she said, foxes like the biscuits? And I said, no, like the animals. She's like, oh, I fucking hate them. And so what we realized, sorry kids, was that that when people, oops, sorry, wrong button, is that when people went to put their sticker on, they told you why. They told you why they felt this, that, and the other thing.
And they felt like they had a stake in the game. Like we were really there to listen. And we also told them, we're like, well, we are passing this along to the city, right? Like we're not saying that some huge change will happen, but the city, they were very interesting and they were doing their own opinion polling.
Yeah.
And it was very limited.
Theirs
right?
was very
because
quant, and ours became very qual because it was much more about like the context for why certain relationships or people felt certain
And
things.
we hit the streets, right? And to talk to people one-on-one, and they really couldn't do that. But I will say one last thing about this, and this has to do with our preconceived notions and prejudices. We were like, well, everybody's going to hate billionaires, right?
Right, everyone's
Everybody
gonna
hates
hate
them.
billionaires.
And when we went to like London School of Economics, that's a school that potentially they're minting billionaires.
Yeah, King's
right?
College
And
here.
they did hate billionaires, but meanwhile, when we went to like just the regular market with regular people, they were like, I don't have a problem with billionaires.
Yeah.
They're fine. And we were like, what about the royals?
The
And they were
vegetable
like, I
market
don't mind the
put a
royals.
billionaire all the way as high as you can put them.
Right. And we're like, and when everybody
Off the
was
chart.
and all the very expensive schools, we were like, aren't you guys the millionaires? But they, anyway, we didn't say that. But we didn't say that because we try to be neutral as we're having these discussions, but it did make us realize that we need to kind of put away some of these ideas that we already had in our heads.
So that led here to the newsstand.
Part of the MTA's Vacant Unit Activation Program.
Yeah, it took us about a year to get through the bureaucracy to set up the newsstand. But with London, we realized it was only kind of like one point in a bigger conversation. We wanted to find a place that would be completely public, so New York City Subway, where we could actually have conversations with people for a whole year. And that's where we've started. So we've been here about 2 months now.
Yeah, I think this is our 7th week. We had an opening event, and we've had things along the way. We're usually here Sunday afternoons. We try to be here Friday afternoons, and then if you need us, if you want to come, we'll show up. This is our train. So when we're done here, we lock the gates.
Yeah, we just get on the train.
Onto the train, and then we live in Chinatown.
Shortest commute ever.
Yeah, we just go downtown.
So we're here to have surveys. So this is a survey about the 401st birthday of New York.
Who knew that it was 400 years last year? That New York was 400 years old. Anyone? Anyone know?
One. Thank you.
All right, good. Because we felt like, once again, as I mentioned during the pandemic, we felt like the city kind of let us down in the fact that during the pandemic, we were all trying to help each other and kind of support each other. And then when you went out in the rest of America, they were like, New York sucks, right? And then we felt like people in charge were like, New York sucks, right? And meanwhile, all of New Yorkers, we almost had like a grassroots campaign to make New York like a better place and celebrate it. And so we had a problem with that. We were like, well, we want to tell the stories of New York through data and art and get people like fired up. And we feel like the reason you did not know it was 400 years old is because the city was just kind of like, it would have been a great marketing opportunity, literally to say to America what kind of city we have. It's complicated, it's a messy history, but we could have found a way to have that story communicated, and they just didn't.
So we took the surveys and we kind of then processed and analyzed them. We did what you see right here. This is the same screen you see up there. One of the things that was so interesting was that people absolutely thought that artist clubs and graffiti were what they wanted to celebrate. Not the whole immigrant experience, did not get many votes at all. And so we're kind of continuing this. So we had an event last Sunday, which was May 24th, which is the 400th anniversary of Peter Minuit's contract. And then this is some trivia, and in front of us here is like a note, like when you give like a greeting card to your friends. So this is what we have for the 401st birthday. And so this is New York Tech Week, so we thought we'd talk a little bit about tech. The one thing that we've learned unequivocally is that people don't like data or technology.
I don't think that's true.
I think so. People feel like data is just kind of washing over them, and they have no real control over it.
Well, that's true.
And the other thing we really learned is that digital information just hits really differently in the physical world, right? It's we're so used to seeing numbers on our phones, our screens, but when you put it like on a sign in the subway, people will stop in their tracks and look at it.
Yeah, and then we actually use a variety of digital tools in the data vandals. We use Procreate, Canva, and Flourish for design. We use AI for research, and that, as Jason will tell you, he used AI to create this, what do you call it, synoptical chart.
Yeah,
right?
the 400 years of Midtown.
So he used the AI to do it very quickly, and then he spent weeks
to
refining
QA
it and checking it. So
it helps with generating it, but not so good at
and actually,
QAing.
just to quickly dash over here, I know you don't like that. The point is, we're actually working with a person who is developing civic tools, and he wants to talk about not only transparency but also accuracy, right? Like there's probably quite a big push right now to say, like, how do we get accurate information without the hallucinations and the nonsense? So we do use AI occasionally. It's not really foundational for what we do, but we'll use it as a tool. We double, triple, quadruple check that, and we talk about it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the other thing we're really excited about, maybe I'm especially excited about it, is we're working on a new data set for the city of Los Angeles. When you look at civic data, 311 is definitely the kind of most obvious and highly trafficked
You know
data
what's
set.
great, because everyone knows 311 you call to complain or tell the city something that's happening.
And what we realized is that most civic data is inherently negative, right? And so we're starting this whole data set called LA Loves, and it's about the opposite of 311. How can we collect data about our affinities and what we like, and we can geotag it and all kinds of fun things. So really excited about that.
But not to get too sappy about it. It's not all like roses and ice cream and rainbows. It's also
I think
a
it's roses and
way
ice cream.
you would. But I think the other thing is to affect change, right? Ultimately. So to find out, like to take the temperature of the city, to find out what people are thinking,
Yeah.
what changes they want to have happen in their city. And the other thing is, just for a moment, Los Angeles is just like New York. We're always defending the city, right? Like you leave the city, everybody's like, why would you live there? Aren't people stabbing you 24/7? And LA has the same issue, right? And so, we want to make something where people feel proud of the city and they're discussing it in a positive way, but they want to affect change in the city as well.
My hypothesis, as I've said again, is that people actually have undervalued positivity, and that they've actually over-indexed on reacting to the negative as opposed to building on the positive. And maybe as a semi-natural segue into that is our exhibition we have in LA right now at Union Station. It's the biggest installation we've made. It's all about how the animals and engineers kind of move through the city. I wanted to point out this map that is on the side. It's very, very busy. It's extremely detailed. It's compiled of hundreds of elevation maps and satellite images compiled to the entire LA metro area. And a quick question for the assembled guests. What do you do when you see a map for the first time? Okay, I like that. You find where your house is, where your home is. And then you might orient yourself, certainly. But you always look for home. Like whenever they have like one of the bits of data that I found was when they do the New York Times, and they have like then search your comments with that. It's people always put in their homes first, and then they find their parents. So, anyways, this is another way that you can kind of insinuate yourself in the data, and we have some inspirations before we wrap up.
This is our hero, Sister Karita Kent. And early on when we were doing research about the Data Vandals, kind of like who we wanted to be and who we were inspired by, we kind of picked her as like somebody that because she has had a lot of rules, like she was a teacher, a great teacher, and these are her rules for work, and also these are her graphic design images. A lot of the images she drew from grocery stores and everyday signage, things that people could relate to. And then she also had these outdoor festivals where she gave out free food and people made these banners and these signs and they marched in the street. And this was a Mary's Day parade in 1964. And the great thing about her is she was such a radical that eventually she got kicked out of her nun's order because she was interested in things like world peace, helping other humans, working against prejudice.
Radical.
And so eventually they were like, what are you doing over there in that, nunnery? This is all wrong. And so she eventually left, but she's our hero.
And then I also wanted to point out this. So while our work is a little novel, it's not the first time it's happened. So this is the 1913 Municipal Parade, where every city department actually was responsible for making floats, in this case horse-drawn floats that had giant data visualization of presentations, or even like this parade. So this is actually, they do lots of things about like sanitation and like how to prevent diphtheria. For example, they had a giant mosquito that was showing like how you're supposed to keep your homes clean.
Right. And then this is a little, I don't know if this is in the New York Times, probably, right? There's a little clip about description of the parade. And it said the health department's exhibit was pretty much a matter of placarded statistics and information entitled "A City Buys Its Own Death Rate." So a lot of it was about sanitation, but also using modern science and statistical information to tell people about the city and find ways that people can be healthier and the death rate can be lower.
So there's a million people that came to this. Bye. Thanks for coming. There's a million people that came to this despite the rain you can see, the heavy downpour. And what's next for us? We are working on this project for LA. This actually is connected to the World Cup next week. So Jen was finishing that up. Actually, after this, we have to go submit the thing to the printer. And we're also working on a kind of a small graphic novel about the finances of the U.S. healthcare system.
Right. And the history of the healthcare system. So within this book, the book is created by many different experts to talk about the U.S. healthcare system. But within the middle section, I'm assuming, we'll have this like graphic design that kind of explains how we got to where we are today. In kind of like, they're not simplistic terms, but understandable, right? And we actually created this character as an avatar for like the average person, including ourselves, to ask questions like, why is it like that? Or like, that's totally confusing, or this is ridiculous. And so he becomes kind of like the voice of reason in the book.
And that's it. So we have more events coming up. June 26th, Friday, we're having our friends Slip Slips. They have a literary magazine right here in front of you. They're bringing some of their writers and poets in. We're going to be here as late as we can. DJ sets will be late next weekend. We come here every Sunday. So get a newspaper, get Slip Slips. We have a raffle here to get the t-shirt of our rap friend.
We give away 2 t-shirts every Sunday.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Slip Slips thing is interesting because if you take one, they're always looking for submissions. If anyone here is a poet, writer, artist, etc.
Yeah, and you can sign up as well.
Yeah. And we're taking any questions that anyone might have.
Yeah, just come talk to us. Thank you.
Thank
you. I'm curious, with the sticker methodology, it seems the data you collect is anonymized. Do you ever capture all these individuals that are, significantly influence research output that you have, or at the population as a whole, or is everything just really anonymized?
It's very anonymized. I think you get like these kind of personal stories. Like, for example, there was a woman that was standing right by the history, and she was very well dressed, and she looked kind of
non-annoying
irritated.
Message.
And she would look over, and that's a Venn diagram of the relationship on each. She unmatched the thing on the relationship. She was like, and then turn around and so like this happened. I wouldn't say it's results. I think it's more just
in the subway,
interesting stories.
Yeah. For the London one, the stickers
think of like
themselves
the
have
average
like,
writer.
There was
Yes,
you're right. You
Yeah.
noticed that you could write your own, and so it's funny because like people put like matcha, and people would say like their mother, but then people have really interesting comments as well.
Yeah, I think they might
because of the queen.
because I would think
swans are
of
getting
Tiny, but here's the thing,
Okay.
and this is
Okay,
why we
great.
talk about communication.
Thank you so
Who do
much for sharing.
complain to?
Oh, thank
And
you.
so
Yeah.
like
Did you
we're
have a
friendly
question
with
about,
the
like,
MTA,
what we might
and they
do
were
with
like,
it?
"Can you not trash
Yeah, I
talk
mean,
the
I'm
MTA,
curious, like,
right?"
is
They're
it,
like, "We have
is it
eyes,
for-
and we ride the train."
I have a
But we're
question
like,
about
"What
that.
is this
Well, we're
black
gonna
do?"
commit
It's, you know,
when we have enough. We'll
there's
commit it back
no-
to the NYC Open Data Forum.
somebody.
It's all
How do you feel
anonymized,
about
and we
the
have
train?
like questions, and it's about like
There is
200-300 people per survey. So
Yeah.
it's like
And
it's an N that's like
yes,
decent.
and we've taken like we'll
I
take
don't think
things
anyone's
of
gonna
like you know how the whole pop bucket
It'll be things that'll
with
kind
like
of help.
3 cones and some dirty.
That was my next question. Are you trying to like influence the system?
So the love site, I am very much. And I think what's so cool is that LA office, because they're kind of small and so I have a lot of negative things to say. Anyways, it's kind of like so I'd very much like to have you can let me know in a year.
email about it. And I was like, where's the link? I was like, why isn't there a link to filling out a form to get the vacant unit? So we were like, we asked a friend of ours in Washington City, we're like, can you code whoever's in charge of the aggregation program and tell them that we want one?
So psychedelic when you
So it
buy
turned out he did, and it turned out to be this one woman who's in charge of the whole thing, who has an entire other job at the MTA. And they were like, will you do
about a
this
year
thing?
to get the space.
So if
So
you find
it's
this
been a
email
journey.
online, and if you just put in vacant unit
And we're
application,
here
you'll
a few
see
hours
her,
a week.
and she's just smart.
But it's really interesting. It's like everyone, you never know what's going to happen.
Because I use this as a
Every
studio
type of
also
person
if
comes
I
in.
wanted to.
We had the last one was
And
all
I'm
about
thinking about
money.
doing that,
We
like,
had
I know
a guy come in
at a table.
and he was like, "Oh, I'm not worried about money." And then he looked at it and kind of like, "What is going behind it?" And then he was like, "Well, you know, everybody wants money."
And
It was a very interesting comment. It was very honest. It was very honest. Like, he could buy what he wanted.
So they're kind of open to projects. It's just that they can't do insurance, and it's
It's pretty straightforward. I think predominantly that's you have to set it a little bit. It's pretty open. Go find out more about building. But
he almost won a grant, and I was like, for like 1 month. That was like
I'd love to see it. You can come and present here. Thanks so much for coming on. Yeah, thank you. I'll let you see. My pleasure.
we're like, we're the dish, man. And somebody's like, wait, who's in it? We're like, yeah. So they're also like,
well, we are the art gallery all about
like I said, in collaborating, we're like, you want to do something.
So we are basically here just to have conversations with the artists for next year. We're present 2 p.m. People have surveys, so this is where I have also about 400 stories where people are. So we just put up last year. So it's a little bit trivia, a little bit about how you feel. Just like a greeting card. Like, send your card to your friends. We can afford it for
It's how stories go. And we're getting like singing all over the world. And we also, Jason made an app that's similar to like our data gathering that you can use. Like I'd love to have like a big screen. Like,
it's funny because as we kind of
like
longer, longer, there's just kind of more ways that we play around with data. Like sometimes, like these are all data maps, and this clipboard has all the sources and math for how each one was compiled.
No one has any.
It's always in a report form.
Right.
Yeah,
And
so
you
it's
cannot
like
know
primary,
in so many
secondary
different, and when you get all of that data, you're
Tickling
like,
the part of my brain.
there's so many ways to say this in such a nice
Like
way
MLE
for
formats.
women investors.
Well,
Like
it's funny
stakeholders
because
that might
we
actually care about your
we would have people come in and
issue.
ask about
Yeah.
the signs. And
So,
this one
Yeah.
guy
When
named
you
David
heard
who's
that
on
Jason used
house
to work
came
for
in and said,
McKinsey.
I don't believe
So
about
he
the
worked for
10%
McKinsey
of the languages.
and he was like,
And I didn't.
sharing and saying
only
well, the funny thing.
I started.
thought that's how you got your idea.
I started playing around with more arty stuff, and they loved it.
because he made this anonymous chart like the one we have outside for McKinsey about their history, and it revealed some, and you will not be surprised, some negatives, obviously, or even some dip slip or firing. And he was like, kind of negative. Exactly. So it's kind of interesting because you think that a big company would be like, don't say anything negative, but people see that you're hiding the information, and they're like, well, this is bullshit. You know, tell me the real story.
Well, and so what I found is that I feel like people are using data more and more, like using it to have a data-informed argument. That means that like you're using it to prove your rights, and which I have done in many ways in different form. But we're realizing that if you just kind of present the data and back it up, then it becomes a conversation, right? Like if someone doesn't believe in your information, for example, if you sort of want to believe it, and we do some research, then you can talk about why it wasn't something.
I feel like we hide nuggets of potential controversy in the concept. So, for instance, like we have 63.3 million tourists. New York is the most visited city. If you live in New York, as you probably all know, everybody's like, this is a failed city. It's a nightmare. Well, everybody's just going around robbing each other. Okay, then who are these people who can come to this town and see robbing town and buy a knockoff maybe that? So, are we going to get rid of this?
Well, it's the number one most visited city in the world. It is actually the highest wealth in the world by a factor of $1 billion.
It's the richest city by far for the last 10 to 15 years. Like occasionally Singapore will get on as the richest and then it'll go off again.
And on the flip side, if you think about the state of the city, especially our infrastructure, in comparison to Singapore, it's like, yes, more people at the same time. I think it's a billion. Because there's about 30 people there. And depending on market rates, market fluctuation, it's interesting to think about. But the fact that we actually, I think the next one is 7. So like we really have the most number of billionaires in the world. What's the taxing for that?
Are there different ways to measure the exact number?
I would assume someone has put that together. I mean,
I started a pretty deep dive on how much money the top wealthiest groups give in taxes, and it's becomes an interesting exercise. Like, we want to tell the story that most well, is it equitable among their children? Probably not. But it's by and large, the wealthy pay the most taxes.
So Jason, after leaving McKinsey, he started his own agency and he did a project about homelessness in San Francisco. And it was really interesting because it was somebody kind of commissioned the project because they wanted to see how much money is given towards homelessness and where it goes. And honestly, the real story is that so much money is given towards homelessness, billions. Like basically you could take every homeless person and give them this amount of money and they'd practically be rich. But where it all goes, and it's not corruption, it's really a system where the services aren't getting
and you
right
gotta do the
people.
raffle. We have t-shirts. Gotta end the raffle. We give away t-shirts.
It's just not a streamlined system. That's what it revealed. It wasn't revealed
Yeah,
like
it's about
that evil
efficiency.
city people were
It's
stealing
not
the
about
money,
corruption.
or it's not. And everybody's so
That's our
well-meaning.
postcard
They
for
want
information.
to improve the situation of homelessness. And when you see how much money is given, you're just like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's like $1.2 billion annually for unhoused folks. Annually.
And you never really feel that way, right?
Oh,
so it's like,
there's one down there.
so the story and the numbers, and then of course how
Just
you
a
present
way for us
that
to come.
in a palatable way without saying like, yeah, we should give a lot less to those homeless people. Which we're not saying, obviously. And spending time in LA has been interesting because we keep going back and forth, and their city situation is so different than New York. We're just like, we're just driving around like, what's happening? Yeah.
Are you originally East Coast or West Coast?
Yeah, we're from South Carolina, and they have but we've lived in New York 2 different times, and then we lived in New York over 10 years. And actually, I told Jason, I'm like, this is something we could have done in Berlin. Yes, and I feel like the reason we do it here is because we're like, yeah, we could have done that in Berlin. let's do it here.
One
Without me.
narrow support music NYC is only 8.
And when were you
Jason.
You keep referencing this Jason, and I'm like,
I love him. Give that guy a piece of my mind.
He's the Jason in all of this. So yeah, but yeah, and when we lived in Europe, Jason was actually an electronic DJ, and I was a performance artist.
that's awesome.
Which is like almost like what you have to be in Berlin.
What?
That's the only people that get this performance.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
is absolutely performance art. It's funny because we realize more and more that it's becoming connected to like just kind of like channel through corporate life and technology.
yeah, I mean, New York. Actually, and speaking of Berlin, we actually wanted to turn this into like a DJ setup and have Jason used to work on Boiler Room. You know what Boiler Room is? So most people here do know what it is. And you were the producer of Boiler Room, and we were like, why don't we have a Boiler Room in New
I brought
York?
multiple cameras to Boiler Room.
Exactly.
HT before me, it was just webcams.
Yes, webcam. So we wanted to try that out to have a live stream version of New York's Boiler Room. Not call it Boiler Room.
Call it newsstand.
Newsstand.
This is the newsstand.
Exactly. And then have like, I don't know, 12 people dance.
I think you could have 5 people dance. 6 maybe. Depends how sweaty they are.
They had this bar in Berlin that's always been my inspiration called the Automaten Bar. And it was a bar about the size of this. No one, it was like you had a card.
It was all automated.
It was all automated.
There was nobody there.
So there was like a DJ in there playing music, and then there was like
vending machine.
it was a vending machine. It was
But
on
for
in the
beer and
middle.
stuff, yeah.
You bought your beer from the vending machine and your
Yeah.
snacks, and then you just
Berlin.
partied hard, and then you just left whenever you felt like leaving. It was amazing. I'd love to start one of those. Eat here.
Well, maybe. Do you want to do one last one?
What time is it?
It's
We gotta buy
5:45.
groceries. Real life is we don't have any food at home. Okay, well we can't do that.
We'll do one last one.
This is how they.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, but stay in touch.
Thank
We'd
you.
like to hear we yammering on about our stuff, but I want to hear what you guys are doing, what your plans are. We'd love to chat.
Please do.
Yeah, we can have a coffee. We live downtown. Love that. All right.
Thanks so
Have
much.
a coffee.
Will you be rotating like what's the facts and things on this?
Yes, we're talking about trying to swap it out.
Are you a tech data art
person?
person?
I don't know. I want to do it. I kind of want to do it
And then
about
sometimes
like
history. I usually
the
somebody's
pre-history of New York before Western civilization. So have it all be about nature. And she kind of wants to do it about Fear City. The thing all about how like the police wrote the whole thing about how you shouldn't come to New York.
Kind of, so in a way.
In the 70s, the police and fire department got together and made a pamphlet to scare tourists away.
Uses Gen AI to help people bridge the gaps in conversation. So, you know, instead of, here's the Republican view, here's the Democrat view, it says, what are your values? Based on your values,
Thank you.
here's how to take away from these arguments.
Is your stop?
Yeah.
And it's very much negative.
Yeah, I
uses a lot of
worked
data.
on that
and
race, but
trying to
I'm
make it
hoping-
New York
Oh, that's
centric
great.
and
Yeah,
also
yeah.
expand
This is
out.
this is how you
But it's
get
to help people have more
We,
civil
so
conversations.
this is
Like, I
actually
worked at
part
Meta,
of
I
New
was
York
part of the
Tech Week.
problem.
So
Because
we've
we
had a bunch of
have
people
to,
come and
you
go.
know, it's like.
So you're here for New York Tech Week.
Well, we would love for you to write your
Yeah.
info down, but I
You can
will
give us
tell
talk
you
now.
that
You
all
got
of
some
the
of the
things you
talk.
mentioned
You got
is
some of
like
the talk.
definitely part of our world.
Oh.
So we have friends that are working
We'll do it. We can do
beautiful
it.
for
We can
Meta.
do it.
We have journalist friends, a good supporter of ours.
This
works
is all.
for Reuters.
This is this from the
Jason does a
previous
lot of
survey.
New York
So
Times,
you'll
data
see
people.
next. This is the
And
survey
what else
that.
did you mention? We've done
Yeah,
all of
that's
this
what it was.
corporate,
So we actually
whatever,
had
and now
2
we're
of
doing a
these
lot of
with
things.
stickers and
Cities,
things.
various cities.
And then there's been one in
Civic
between
work.
this. So this is
But
more
just
like a
like you,
greeting
we kind
card.
of sampled
But
everything.
yeah, so like you start to pull some of it off. Because we're trying to do this grassroots movement to get New Yorkers to support the 401st birthday of New York. We should be supporting it.
I'm in journalism, so I thought it
So the newspaper that we have, the local newspaper, that's kind of like my argument for like the 400th birthday.
Well,
So
now
the
that
first
the
page is
sun's
basically
out,
why,
let's go sit outside.
what's going on with it, and then on the inside is a whole thing about like how we're focused on the 401st because it's easier. It's less controversial. It's cooler.
It was weird, but this is my.
It is.
Sorry, co-founder.
Because
I
the
used to work at Meta.
because the city seal of New York is 1625. So we're 401. Right? Like that's the facts. The reality is a little bit more complicated.
I love your idea because what Jason was saying about
Sorry,
sharing
stop it.
data.
I'm here for a year.
Like, I'll never forget, Jason was in a swimming pool in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina with his parents. His parents are very conservative.
And
like,
this is the raffle for the future.
Jason is sitting there trying to explain something. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was the beginning of some conflict. And he was trying to explain it in terms of data and information, very calm. No, it was Madani. That was what it was. Your parents were like, isn't he like a maniac who's just gonna kill everybody? And you were like, okay. And here's Jason like up top, beach balls and flying around in the pool trying to tell his parents about data and Oreo.
Yeah, I was just waiting for this context.
And they hear their side of the data, of course. So they're firing back with this crazy nonsense data. And so they're having this argument, but Jason's trying to keep it civil. But what people forget is that the hard right conservatives, they have their own version of their data points. When you hear them, you're like, oh no, that's terrible. But not enough people hear them, right?
Absolutely.
And we're gonna have a walk and talk.
Walk the Brooklyn Bridge.
But she has boba.
Boba. Oh, heck yeah.
Because she has a new company that's trying to bridge the gap. Trying to bridge the gap between two different sides.
You mean Brooklyn
Conversation. What really divides us as a nation?
It's the East River.
I'll let you explain it. Using AI to connect people in a
Well, we're
civil,
very interested in
positive
it. I mean,
fashion.
I feel like the catch is that like we've gotten so focused on the ethics of AI, which is definitely its own thing. I don't negate that. But there's so many things that the tool can do that are really unique. For example, just surfacing lots of information, and instead of giving you like a bunch of charts you don't need, they'll just give you a much more direct answer. Now, we need to work on making sure they're hallucination free, which we are. There's a lot of advances there, but the goal ultimately is to create more human interaction.
Well, and
not less.
she's a former Meta person, and also has the same kind of background, journalism, business,
You got it. Check.
American studies, which I've always thought that's a great degree to see.
Let me show you the book I'm reading right now.
Wow, look at that. I know, and I love this building, right? Because it still has like the explosion area.
Oh, wonderful. With Gary Dennis.
Which is about the history
Oh,
of
okay.
global finance, government crisis.
We are a data art. Yeah, we're a data art gallery. We're artists. About 4 years. So we've done projects all over the world, and we wanted to have a conversation with you where we could be in residency for a year. So it took us a year to get through the bureaucracy. This for you paid for years.
But we have
Well, we're not here every day. We have like jobs.
That's unfortunate.
Those are mine.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's such a cool vibe down here, though.
Well, when people are here, and we have the door open.
Right. I saw the outside art, and I just thought that was like, oh, somebody's painting the subway station. I never knew it was something. I'm a tour guide. I wanted to figure out how if I see you, what can I talk to my people on my tours? What are you doing?
So
Yes.
we're a data art gallery.
Oh, but
about
wait.
data art.
But I want to tell you one thing that is important that may tie in with what you do. So as you know, New York was 400 years old last
Right,
year.
we did nothing.
We did nothing. So when we got this space, after it took us a year to get the space, we were like, New York is a huge marketing opportunity, an opportunity to talk about the very, as you well know, complicated history.
Very.
It's all tangled up.
Yeah.
And we think they got a little gun shy, but we were like, it's fascinating. And we come through it. We're here, right?
Yeah.
And the overwhelming sentiment we're getting from our surveys is that people feel very positively about the city right now, potentially more positive than we've ever had. So you missed the chance for the big birthday celebration. You could have had something jump out of a cake in Times Square for God's sake.
That was the biggest part of New York had to do going, we're 40 years old. So what? There's also that in New York too.
It's a very interesting point. And I started to wonder about that really recently. To think, like, why didn't they do anything? Because, like, I thought like that.
Because Adams was in charge of it. He was just
Well, I think Adams is keeping his head down.
Yeah,
he tried
to get out. Yeah, he was on his way out.
Yeah, he just wanted to. Not gonna change.
So part of our position here is to celebrate New York and all of its twists and turns. And then we had last weekend, we had a little celebration, like come to the birthday party, wear your favorite New Yorker outfit. And we had a costume contest. So we are continuing, and then you know some of this stuff, but most people don't know.
You know the new orange one?
No, I'm trying to remember this guy.
Oh, here he is. Here he is. Juan Rodriguez, our favorite, our hero. The first non-indigenous citizen, if you want to call it that, of New York City. So he was on a Dutch.
1613.
He was on a Dutch ship before the Dutch made landfall. They were like, "We're on a ship. We see this gorgeous harbor. We're gonna come back."
Yeah, it took him 25 years.
Right.
About 17, about 17, yeah. 1868, then come back in 1625.
So Juan Rodriguez was like, "I'm gonna get on the boat. I'm gonna create trade relationships. I'm gonna get to know the people here. It's all good. You can come back, getting all these set up more or less." And he saw an opportunity, right? Because he was Dominican, and so the Dutch would actually not get back on the boat. He didn't have a strict way. And he's like, "No, if you don't let me out, so they let him out." And then when they came back, they had set up a relationship in more of a language. And the fact that he's Dominican, the fact that
not just, we've got 250 the island, the center of the earth, the center of the world. And I don't remember people popping up in that book, which was a great Arlington. You see the early Dutch documents that somebody actually went up there and started to translate those old Dutch things up in Albany, and I felt just keep popping up in that book.
You can, when you look at him, you'll see that a couple of people have tried to make projects. I think it was a play about him, and his name just whizzes by so quickly because there's so little documentation about it.
The only other one, the reason that people played out for the New York Yankees in the mid-90s, so.
He's a lovely talent.
So this is small. I made this the Arizona 1524 Hudson, Rodriguez is here. So it's a solid, you know.
Yeah.
And so look at him, it's just like this sound.
There's a Swedish girl in South Jersey. There's a Swedish right there. No, thank you. They're making it. No,
that's true.
But no, but that's because the Dutch claimed that Delaware River was also theirs too. And then the Swedes went down there. Instead of dealing with the British, the Dutch decided to deal with the Swedes first. The early Swedes, and then So yeah, there's a Swedish colony in South Jersey.
Yeah, okay. Well, when the Swedish guy came by, Juan Rodriguez started to trade with him because he was basically the market.
Contact.
Right. And then when the Portuguese came back, they said, "We're going to try you for treason because you are turning your back to the Portuguese crown." Or something. And then he was like, "I'm a free agent. I bought my freedom. Yeah, basically take a hike," and they did.
Okay.
But that's the last record of him. Okay. And then there's nothing else.
So switching gears, I was just speaking of your organization. I was telling Jason, I would love to have a talk about statistically speaking, the bad days in New York. And what I'd love to
In
do
the 70s and 80s?
Yeah.